As the great Buddha once wisely said, peace comes from within. Do not seek it without. Life will always test you. It will throw storms, struggles, and moments of doubt that shake your spirit. In those moments, most people lose control. But the truth is, real strength is found in your ability to stay calm when everything around you is falling apart. Calmness is not weakness. It is mastery of yourself. Positivity is not denial of reality. It is the courage to keep believing in light even in darkness. Remember, a calm mind sees clearly, while a restless mind only multiplies the problem. And the more you protect your peace, the more power you hold over your life. Today, I will share 7 powerful lessons to help you stay calm, control stress, and remain positive when life gets tough. 1. Anchor yourself in the present moment. Stress thrives when the mind refuses to stay in the only place it truly belongs, the present. Most of the time, people don't even realize how far their thoughts have drifted away from the now. You find yourself replaying the same memories over and over again, thinking of the things you should have said but didn't, the opportunities you should have taken but ignored, the mistakes you wish you could undo but cannot. Each replay fuels regret, guilt, and sadness, keeping you tied to a past that has already disappeared. On the other side, your mind often runs into the future, imagining endless what-if scenarios. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if something bad happens? You paint pictures of disasters that have not even occurred, creating fear and anxiety out of situations that only exist in your imagination. And in this tug-of-war between past regrets and future worries, the present, the only real place you can live, is completely abandoned. Calmness begins when you reclaim this moment, when you refuse to let your mind live in yesterday or tomorrow, and instead you choose to anchor yourself here, right now. The present is the only reality. The past is gone. Nothing you do can change it. The future has not yet come, and worrying about it only robs you of today's strength. But in this very moment, in this very breath, you are alive, and that is enough. Anchoring yourself in the present is not about denying what happened yesterday or ignoring your responsibilities for tomorrow. It is about refusing to let them steal your peace. One simple way to anchor yourself in the present moment is through your breath. Your breath is always with you, and it always happens in the now. Close your eyes for a moment. Take a slow, deep breath. Feel the air as it enters your lungs, and then slowly release it. As you exhale, imagine letting go of the weight of the past and the worries of the future. Do it again until your body begins to feel lighter and your mind steadier. Stress cannot survive in a mind that is breathing consciously, because conscious breathing keeps you grounded in what is real. Another way is to notice your body and your surroundings. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the chair supporting your weight, or the texture of the air around you. Listen closely to the rhythm of your heartbeat, the quiet sounds in the room, or the breeze outside your window. Observe your environment as if you are seeing it for the very first time, the colors, the shapes, the patterns. This practice of mindfulness transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary, pulling you back into the beauty of the moment you are living. Think of the present as a safe harbor. The past is like a storm that has already passed, leaving behind memories you cannot change. The future is another storm forming in the distance, unpredictable and not yet here. But the present is the calm shore where you can stand, breathe, and find safety. When you choose to anchor yourself there, the noise of regret and the pressure of worry begin to fade. Every time your mind drifts away, and it will, you simply bring it back gently, without judgment. Say to yourself, I am here, I am safe, I am alive. With practice, you will notice that stress loses its grip. You begin to experience peace, not as something you chase in the future, but as something you create in the present. Calmness begins not in some perfect tomorrow, but in this breath, in this heartbeat, in this moment. 2. Reframe challenges as teachers. When life throws difficulties your way, the first natural reaction is resistance. You feel frustrated, angry, or even hopeless because in your mind, problems are unfair punishments and obstacles are signs that something is going wrong. You look at the challenge before you and think, why is this happening to me? Why can't my life be easier? Why does this have to happen right now? These thoughts only multiply your stress because they place you in the role of a victim, someone who has no control, someone who is being attacked by life itself. But what if you could shift that perspective? What if instead of seeing challenges as punishments, you began to view them as teachers? What if you believed that every difficulty carried within it a lesson designed to help you grow stronger? This small change in perspective makes a world of difference. Instead of saying, "Why me?" you begin to ask, "What is this trying to teach me?" This question takes you out of the cycle of fear and places you back into a position of growth. The stress begins to lose its power because you are no longer resisting reality. You are learning from it. You stop seeing yourself as powerless and start seeing yourself as a student of life. Every teacher has a lesson, and every challenge has wisdom hidden within it. Think back to the hardest moments of your life, the heartbreaks, the failures, the disappointments, the unexpected turns. At the time, they may have felt unbearable. You may have cried, felt broken, or even wanted to give up. But later, when you look back, you realize that those very moments shaped you into who you are today. Pain taught you patience. Failure taught you resilience. Loss taught you gratitude. Struggle taught you strength. None of those lessons could have been learned in comfort. They were only born through difficulty. This is why challenges are not your enemies. They are your greatest teachers, even though they often wear the disguise of hardship. Imagine a seed buried in the soil. At first, the darkness, the pressure, and the weight of the earth seem suffocating. But that very pressure forces the seed to push upward, to grow roots, to break through the soil into the light. Without the struggle of being buried, the seed would never transform into a strong tree. In the same way, your struggles are not meant to bury you forever. They are meant to prepare you, to push you toward your potential, to help you discover the strength you didn't even know you had. The key to staying calm in tough times is remembering that the challenge is not here to destroy you, but to build you. Stress feels unbearable when you believe the problem has no purpose. But the moment you understand that every test has a lesson, every setback has meaning, and every pain is shaping you, calmness begins to return. You may not see the lesson right away, but trust that it is there, waiting for you to discover it. Instead of saying, "This is the worst thing that could happen to me," train your mind to say, "This is an opportunity to grow." Instead of thinking, "I can't handle this," remind yourself, "I am being prepared for something greater." This is not blind optimism. It is a conscious choice to reframe how you view life. By changing your perspective, you change your relationship with stress. What once felt like an unbearable weight becomes a stepping stone toward your growth. The truth is, life's toughest battles often produce the strongest warriors. The same fire that burns wood into ash also forges steel into strength. Every time you face a challenge, remember, it is not your enemy, it is your teacher. Learn from it, grow from it, and let it shape you into the person you are meant to become. 3. Silence the storm within. When life feels overwhelming, people often believe that the real battle is outside, the problems at work, the conflicts in relationships, the financial pressures, the endless responsibilities. But the truth is, the heaviest storm is rarely outside of you. It is inside your own mind. You carry on entire conversations with yourself, imagining scenarios that never happened, predicting disasters that haven't come, replaying painful words again and again as if they are happening right now. This storm of thoughts is what keeps you awake at night and what makes your heart race even when you are sitting still. If you want to stay calm and positive when life gets tough, you must learn to silence this storm within. Your mind is a powerful tool, but left unchecked, it can also be your greatest enemy. Every thought you entertain creates an emotional reaction in your body. Think about fear long enough, and your chest tightens. Replay anger in your mind, and your body tenses as if the event is happening again. Focus on failure, and you begin to feel weak before you've even tried. The storm is not caused by what is happening outside. It is caused by how you are thinking about it. That is why two people can face the same challenge, and one will collapse under stress, while the other remains calm. The difference is not the challenge itself, but the voice inside their head. To silence the storm, you must first listen to it. Pay attention to the words you are speaking to yourself in your quiet moments. Do you constantly repeat things like, "I'm not good enough," "I'll never get through this," or "everything is going wrong"? These thoughts are like fuel poured into the fire of stress. They keep the storm raging. Now imagine replacing them with different words. "I can handle this. I've faced struggles before and survived. This situation will not break me." The difference is immediate. Your body responds with calmness. Your mind begins to steady itself. Positive self-talk is not about denying reality. It is about giving yourself the strength to face it. Think of your mind as a radio. Stress is like static, loud, distracting, and unpleasant. But you are the one holding the dial. You can continue listening to the static of fear and negativity, or you can turn the dial to a different station, one that plays encouragement, peace, and hope. It doesn't happen automatically. You must consciously choose it again and again until it becomes your default. Every time the storm rises, every time negative thoughts grow loud, remind yourself, "I am in control of what I feed my mind. I choose calmness. I choose peace." Another powerful way to quiet the storm is through stillness. Sit in silence, close your eyes, and just observe your thoughts as if they are passing clouds in the sky. Do not fight them, do not judge them, simply watch them drift by. When you see them as clouds, you realize they are temporary, they come and go, but they are not you. This distance allows your inner storm to lose power, and suddenly the sky of your mind begins to clear. Remember, the noise of the world cannot hurt you as much as the noise inside your head. If you learn to master your inner voice, you can stay calm even in the middle of chaos. If you let the storm control you, even small challenges will feel unbearable. But when you silence the storm within, you discover a new strength, a quiet, steady power that no outside situation can shake. 4. Guard your energy by letting go. One of the biggest reasons people remain restless, stressed, and overwhelmed is because they cling too tightly to everything. They hold on to past mistakes, as if keeping them alive will somehow change the outcome. They grip tightly to grudges, replaying what others said or did years ago, carrying bitterness like a heavy stone in their chest. They refuse to release control over situations that are far beyond their reach, insisting that life must go exactly according to their script. And without realizing it, they spend most of their mental and emotional energy dragging these heavy weights around, wondering why they feel so tired and defeated. Stress often doesn't come from the challenges themselves. It comes from refusing to let go of what we cannot change. Imagine carrying a large backpack filled with rocks everywhere you go. Each rock represents something you refuse to release: a resentment towards someone, an unrealistic expectation, a regret, a fear, a need for control. At first, the weight feels manageable, but the longer you carry it, the more it drains you. Every step feels harder. Your back aches. you become exhausted. Life itself feels like a burden. This is exactly what happens when you cling to everything mentally and emotionally. The load becomes heavier than the journey, and your calmness and positivity disappear under the strain. To stay calm when life gets tough, you must learn the art of letting go. Letting go does not mean you stop caring, and it doesn't mean you ignore responsibility. It means you choose not to waste your energy on things you cannot control. You release the grip on what is gone, and you accept that peace is more valuable than holding on to pain. For example, when someone wrongs you, holding on to anger does not punish them, it punishes you. Every time you replay what they did, you reopen the wound. Forgiveness, then, is not about excusing their actions. It is about freeing yourself from carrying that weight. The same is true for regrets. You may wish you had acted differently in the past, but no amount of stress can rewrite history. The only thing you can do is learn from it and let it go. By releasing regret, you reclaim your energy for the present. Similarly, trying to control every outcome in life only multiplies your stress. The reality is that not everything will go according to your plan, and that's okay. Letting go of control means trusting that even if things don't unfold as you expected, you can still handle it, you can still grow, and you can still move forward. Letting go is a practice, not a one-time act. Each day, notice what burdens you are carrying. Ask yourself, does holding on to this help me, or is it draining me? If it drains you, set it down. Sometimes it's a negative memory. Sometimes it's a toxic relationship. Sometimes it's your own expectations of how life should look. Whatever it is, release it. The lighter you travel, the more peace you will carry within you. Think of a river. Water never clings. It flows. When it meets an obstacle, it does not fight or hold on. It moves around it, over it, or simply waits patiently until it can continue its journey. This is the wisdom of letting go. You do not stop your journey, but you release the need to fight everything that blocks your path. In that release, you find calmness. In that surrender, you find positivity. Protecting your energy is one of the greatest acts of self-care you can give yourself. When you let go of what no longer serves you, you create space for what does. You make room for peace, for clarity, and for strength. Stress is heavy, but peace is light. The choice is always in your hands. Will you carry the stones, or will you set them down and walk forward freely? 5. Create small daily rituals of peace. Calmness in life is not built in a single moment of crisis. It is cultivated slowly, through the habits you practice every day. Many people wait until they are overwhelmed by stress before they try to find peace. But by then, their mind is already restless and their heart is already heavy. Just like a warrior who trains daily so that he is ready for battle, you too must prepare yourself for life's challenges by building small daily rituals that protect your inner balance. These rituals may seem simple on the surface, but practiced consistently, they act as anchors that keep you steady even when the storms of life try to pull you away. Think about your mornings. The way you begin your day sets the tone for everything that follows. If you start your morning by immediately grabbing your phone, scrolling through messages, drowning yourself in news or social media, you are already giving away your calmness before the day has even begun. Your mind becomes reactive, pulled in 100 directions by things that do not belong to you. But if you begin your day with a peaceful ritual, such as deep breathing, meditation, prayer, journaling, or even sitting silently with a cup of tea, you remind yourself that you are in control of your energy. That one intentional act of peace becomes the foundation upon which the rest of your day is built. Daily rituals are powerful because they remind you of who you are. When life is noisy, rituals are the moments of silence where you return to yourself. They are not about length or complexity, they are about consistency and meaning. Even 5 minutes of meditation where you close your eyes, focus on your breath, and let your mind settle is enough to create a shift. Journaling for a few minutes each day allows you to release your thoughts instead of carrying them all in your head. Walking outside and noticing the rhythm of your steps and the beauty of nature brings you back to the present moment. These are small practices, but together they become the pillars of your calmness. Another benefit of rituals is that they train your nervous system. Stress pushes your body into survival mode. Your heart races, your muscles tighten, your mind scans for threats. But when you engage in rituals of peace, you retrain your body to relax. Deep breathing lowers your heart rate. Prayer or meditation slows down racing thoughts. Gratitude journaling shifts your focus from what is wrong to what is right. Over time, your body learns that calmness is your natural state, and it becomes easier to return to that state, even in difficult situations. Many people underestimate the importance of small practices because they are looking for big solutions. They think peace will come from a vacation, a major life change, or achieving some long-term goal. While those things can bring temporary relief, lasting calmness is not found in extraordinary moments. It is built in the ordinary ones. It is found in the way you treat yourself each day. Just like a strong house is built brick by brick, a calm and positive mind is built ritual by ritual. Your daily rituals do not have to look like anyone else's. For some, it may be prayer before sunrise. For others, it may be exercising to release stress. For another, it may be reading a few pages of an inspiring book or sitting by the window in silence. What matters is not the exact practice, but the intention behind it. Each ritual says, I value my peace. I will protect my calmness. I will begin my day with strength. Think of rituals as planting seeds of peace into your day. A single seed may seem small, but over time it grows into a tree that provides shade, strength, and shelter. The rituals you commit to may feel small in the moment, but over time they grow into unshakable calmness. Then, when life gets tough, you are not scrambling to find peace. You already have it within you. So do not wait for the world to become quiet before you practice calmness. Train yourself to find calmness every day in small and simple ways. Build your rituals, and your rituals will build you. When the storms arrive, as they always do, you will find that you are anchored, steady, and unshaken, because peace has become your daily practice, not a temporary escape. 6. Surround yourself with light, not darkness. Human beings are deeply shaped by their environment, more than they often realize. You may think you are strong enough to resist the influence of the people around you, the conversations you listen to, or the content you consume every day. But slowly, quietly, these things seep into your mind and begin to shape your mood, your thoughts, and your energy. If you want to stay calm and positive when life becomes heavy, you must learn to carefully guard your surroundings. The truth is simple. Negativity is contagious, but so is positivity. Darkness spreads easily, but so does light. The question is, which one are you allowing to enter your heart every day? Think about how you feel after spending time with different kinds of people. When you are surrounded by those who constantly complain, criticize, and speak about problems without offering solutions, notice how heavy your chest feels afterward. Their words stick to you like dust, leaving your mind restless, your mood lowered, and your hope dimmed. They may not even realize it, but their negativity is like smoke. You breathe it in just by being near it. On the other hand, think about the moments you spend with people who uplift you, who encourage you, who speak about possibilities rather than limitations. With them, you feel lighter, inspired, and more at peace. Their presence acts like fresh air to your spirit. This is the silent power of your environment. It either poisons your calmness or nurtures it. The same applies to what you consume daily. The books you read, the music you listen to, the shows you watch. the social media you scroll through. These things all shape your state of mind. If your feed is filled with anger, fear, arguments, and toxic comparisons, how can you expect your mind to remain calm? If your entertainment glorifies violence, chaos, or bitterness, how can you expect positivity to grow within you? On the other hand, if you consume knowledge, wisdom, and content that uplifts your soul, your mind becomes calmer, your thoughts become clearer, and your heart begins to feel lighter. Just like food shapes your body, what you feed your mind shapes your spirit. Surrounding yourself with light does not mean avoiding all negativity completely. Life will always have its share of difficult people and unpleasant realities, but it does mean making conscious choices about where you spend the majority of your time and energy. You cannot control everything in your environment, but you can choose who you allow into your inner circle. If you find that certain people always bring chaos, gossip, or discouragement into your life, it is not unkind to create distance. It is wisdom. Protecting your peace does not make you selfish. It makes you strong enough to live with balance. Imagine your mind as a garden. Every conversation, every relationship, every piece of content you consume is a seed being planted in that garden. Negative people plant weeds, complaints, doubts, fears, bitterness. Positive people plant flowers, hope, gratitude, encouragement, peace. Which garden do you want to walk through every day? If you do not choose carefully, weeds will grow wild and choke out your peace. But if you surround yourself with those who carry light, you will walk through a garden filled with beauty, even when the outside world is dark. Another way to think about this is like music. Imagine trying to relax while someone is playing loud, discordant noise beside you. No matter how much you try to calm yourself, the noise eventually seeps in, raising your stress and disturbing your peace. Now imagine the opposite, sitting quietly while gentle, calming music plays in the background. Without even trying, your body relaxes, your breath deepens, and your thoughts become clearer. People are like music. Some bring noise into your life, others bring harmony. To stay calm, you must choose to surround yourself with harmony. But surrounding yourself with light is not only about other people, it is also about the environment you create for yourself. Is your home a place of chaos or a place of calm? Do you create small spaces where you can recharge, reflect, and breathe? Even simple acts like keeping your surroundings clean, placing a plant near your desk, or setting aside a corner for prayer, meditation, or reading can influence your state of mind. Your outer space reflects in your inner space. A cluttered, noisy, and chaotic environment makes it harder to maintain calmness, while a simple, ordered, and peaceful environment helps you anchor positivity more easily. It is also important to remember that energy is exchanged, not just felt. Every time you listen to someone's words, every time you open yourself to their emotions, you are exchanging energy with them. If they are carrying anger, bitterness, or despair, they may unknowingly pass that energy to you. This is why you sometimes leave a conversation feeling drained, even if nothing directly bad was said. The opposite is also true. You can leave a conversation feeling alive, motivated, and full of hope because the person you spoke to radiated peace and encouragement. If you want to stay calm and positive, you must learn to protect this exchange. Limit the time you spend with those who drain you, and expand the time you spend with those who recharge you. Of course, this doesn't mean you cut people off at the first sign of negativity. Everyone struggles, and sometimes people just need compassion and support. Surrounding yourself with light does not mean abandoning those in darkness. It means being strong enough to offer them light without letting their darkness consume you. Think of it like standing near a fire. If the fire is small, you can share your warmth. But if the fire grows out of control and threatens to burn you, you must step back to protect yourself. The same applies to relationships. Help where you can, but do not sacrifice your peace completely. Another important part of this lesson is to become mindful of your own energy. Ask yourself honestly, am I bringing light into the lives of others, or am I spreading negativity without realizing it? If you want to attract uplifting people, you must also become uplifting. Calmness grows stronger when you are both giving and receiving positivity. Be the person who encourages, who listens with patience, who speaks with kindness. When you radiate peace, you naturally draw peaceful people toward you, and this creates a cycle of light that strengthens everyone involved. To put it simply, surrounding yourself with light is about intentional living. It is about deciding that your peace matters, and that not everyone or everything deserves access to your inner world. It is about choosing your company, your content, and your environment with care. It is about building a circle that protects you, uplifts you, and reminds you of your strength, especially in times of stress. Because when life gets tough, the people and places you are surrounded with will either hold you steady or pull you deeper into chaos. So, ask yourself today, who are the people I spend most of my time with? Do they lift me higher, or do they pull me down? What kind of voices am I feeding my mind every day? Voices of fear and criticism, or voices of hope and wisdom? Is my environment chaotic or peaceful? The answers to these questions will reveal why you either feel calm or restless most of the time. If you do not like the answers, it is never too late to change them. Surround yourself with light, and you will find that calmness is not as hard to maintain as you once thought. Even in tough times, even when life feels heavy, your environment will act as a shield, protecting your positivity and nourishing your spirit. But if you surround yourself with darkness, no amount of personal effort will keep you calm for long. You will always feel drained, restless, and pulled into negativity. Protect your circle, protect your environment, protect your peace. Remember this truth. You cannot always control the storms of life, but you can control where you choose to stand while they rage. Stand in the light, and even the darkest storms will pass without breaking you. 7. Trust that this too shall pass. One of the greatest sources of stress is the belief that the pain you are experiencing now will last forever. When you are in the middle of a struggle, the human mind has a way of magnifying it until it feels permanent, as if there is no end in sight. The heartbreak feels like it will never heal. The financial pressure feels endless. The loneliness feels like it will stretch on for years. But the truth, which every human life proves again and again, is that nothing in this world is permanent. Every storm has an ending. Every night eventually gives way to dawn. Every winter eventually surrenders to spring. When you learn to trust this reality deeply, when you remind yourself over and over again that this too shall pass, you begin to experience a calmness that no challenge can fully destroy. Think back to the moments in your past when you felt overwhelmed. Perhaps you lost someone you loved. Perhaps you failed at something important. Perhaps you went through days or months where nothing seemed to go your way. At the time, it felt unbearable, and maybe you even thought you would never smile again. But look at yourself now. You survived. The pain did not last forever. The sadness softened. The situation changed. Life moved forward. And you carried on, often stronger than you were before. That is the nature of life. It is always moving, always changing, always flowing. The suffering you feel today will not last forever, no matter how overwhelming it seems right now. Trusting that everything passes does not mean ignoring your pain. It does not mean you deny what you are feeling. It means you recognize the temporary nature of all experiences. Joy is temporary. Pain is temporary. Success is temporary. Failure is temporary. Life itself is a series of seasons, each one passing into the next. When you forget this, you feel trapped, as if your current struggle has no exit. But when you remember it, you create space in your mind. You remind yourself, I have been through storms before, and I came out the other side. This storm too will end. That reminder is like a hand reaching into the darkness to guide you forward. Imagine standing in the middle of a violent storm. The sky is dark, the wind howls, and the rain lashes against your skin. In that moment, it feels endless. But no matter how fierce the storm is, it cannot last forever. Eventually the clouds will break, the rain will slow, and sunlight will return. That is the law of nature, and it is the same law that governs your life. No matter how difficult your current situation is, it is temporary. The storm will not define your entire life. It is just one chapter in your story. If you can hold on long enough, if you can trust in time, you will find peace again. This perspective does not just reduce stress, it builds resilience. When you trust that everything passes, you no longer panic in the middle of the struggle. You endure with patience, knowing that the tide will eventually turn. You stop wasting energy asking why it is happening and start focusing on how you can carry yourself through it with strength. Trusting in time does not take away the challenge, but it gives you the courage to walk through it without losing your peace. It is important to remember that even the darkest nights end with the sunrise. Nature is filled with reminders of impermanence. Flowers bloom and wither. The tide rises and falls. Seasons come and go. Nothing stays the same forever. Your struggles are part of this same rhythm. Just as happiness does not last forever, sadness does not either. Life is movement, not stillness. When you feel stuck, it is only your perspective that has frozen. You have forgotten that life is still flowing, still changing, still moving towards something new. Another way to build trust in the temporary nature of struggle is to practice gratitude for change. Think of the times in your life when things unexpectedly got better, when an opportunity appeared, when healing came, when a burden lifted in ways you did not imagine. These moments are proof that life can shift suddenly, sometimes in ways you cannot predict. If life has surprised you with blessings before, why not trust that it can surprise you again? Holding on to this faith not only calms your stress, but keeps your heart open to new possibilities, even in the middle of pain. When you trust that this too shall pass, you also stop clinging to suffering. Many people make their struggles heavier by carrying them like a permanent identity. They keep saying, "This is who I am now. I am broken. I am unlucky. I am stuck." But when you remind yourself that nothing is permanent, you stop defining yourself by your current struggle. You begin to see it as a temporary experience, not a permanent identity. You say instead, "This is something I am going through, but it is not who I am. It will pass, and I will remain." This subtle shift is powerful. It transforms stress into patience and despair into hope. It also helps to think about life as a river. A river never stays still. It is always flowing, always moving forward. The water that passes you now will never return, and new water is always coming. Your life is the same. The pain you feel now is flowing, not stuck. It is moving past you, whether you realize it or not. Trusting that this flow continues is what allows you to stay calm, even when the current feels rough. Instead of resisting, you learn to float with the current, knowing it will carry you to calmer waters. And here is something important. Sometimes the only thing you need to do is simply endure. Not every problem has an immediate solution. Not every pain has a quick fix. Sometimes your strength lies not in controlling the situation, but in holding on with patience until it passes. Endurance is underrated. People often think strength means fighting, but sometimes strength means waiting. It means standing tall in the storm and saying, "You will not break me. I will still be here when you are gone." That patience, that quiet endurance, is what transforms stress into calm resilience. Even in the hardest times, there is always something inside you that remains untouched by the chaos. Call it your soul, your spirit, your inner core. It is the part of you that has survived every struggle so far. No matter how much pain you have felt in the past, that part of you remains. Trusting that this too shall pass is not just about believing in time. It is about believing in yourself, in your ability to endure, in your inner strength to outlast whatever challenge stands before you. So when stress rises and life feels unbearable, pause and remind yourself, this is temporary. This pain will not last forever. I will not feel this way forever. Things will change, as they always do. Repeat it to yourself as often as you need, until the words sink into your heart. Because once you truly believe it, the storm loses much of its power. The problem may still be there, but the despair is not. Hope replaces hopelessness. Calmness replaces panic. And peace begins to grow again, even in the middle of the challenge. In the end, trust is not about knowing exactly how or when things will change. Trust is about knowing that they will change. It is about accepting the rhythm of life and flowing with it rather than fighting against it. It is about remembering that no feeling is final, no situation is permanent, and no darkness is eternal. If you can hold on to this truth in your toughest moments, you will find a calmness that nothing can steal. So breathe deeply, lift your head, and remind yourself once more, this moment, no matter how heavy, is not forever. The struggle is not the end of your story. The pain is not permanent. The storm will pass. And when it does, you will still be standing, stronger, calmer, and more positive than before. 8. Strength through acceptance. One of the deepest reasons people suffer in silence is because they resist reality. They fight against what is happening, replaying in their minds how things should be, how people should act, and how life should unfold. This resistance is like constantly swimming upstream in a river. You exhaust yourself trying to push against what cannot be changed. The harder you fight reality, the more drained and restless you become. But calmness and positivity begin the moment you practice acceptance. Acceptance does not mean you approve of what happened. It does not mean you enjoy the pain. It simply means you stop wasting your precious energy fighting against what already is. Acceptance is the doorway to peace. Imagine breaking a glass. If you sit there insisting, this glass should not have broken, this should not have happened, you add frustration on top of the problem. But the reality is, it is already broken. No amount of stress will unbreak it. The only question is, will you stay stuck in resistance, or will you accept the truth and decide what to do next? When you accept the moment as it is, you free your mind from the chains of should and should not. You step into clarity, and in clarity, calmness grows. Many people confuse acceptance with weakness, but the truth is, it is one of the greatest strengths. It takes courage to face a painful situation without denial. It takes strength to look at life honestly and say, this is where I am right now. It may not be what I wanted, but I will deal with it. Weakness hides in resistance, because resistance is fear disguised as control. Strength, on the other hand, lives in acceptance, because acceptance is rooted in courage. Think of the ocean. When a storm comes, the waves on the surface are wild and violent. But deep down, in the depths, the water remains calm and steady. Acceptance is like sinking into those depths. On the surface of your life, there may be storms, noise, and chaos, but when you practice acceptance, you sink into a deeper place inside yourself, where peace is untouched by the surface waves. You stop thrashing around in resistance, and you begin to float in calmness. Acceptance does not mean you stop working toward change. It does not mean you give up on improving your situation. It means you start from reality instead of illusion. If you lose your job, for example, acceptance means acknowledging, this happened, it hurts, I didn't want it, but here I am. Once you accept that truth, you can focus on the next step, seeking opportunities, building new skills, finding a new path. Without acceptance, your mind gets trapped in cycles of blame, regret, and denial, leaving you paralyzed. But with acceptance, you clear the fog and see the way forward. Acceptance also protects your energy in relationships. People often waste years of their life trying to force others to be who they want them to be. They argue, they plead, they stress endlessly because someone does not meet their expectations. But the truth is, you cannot control another person's behavior. You can influence, you can guide, you can inspire, but ultimately, people are who they choose to be. If you cling to the illusion that you can force them into your version of who they should be, you will live in constant stress. Acceptance means seeing them as they are and then deciding what that means for your life. You either accept them as they are and find peace with it, or you accept that they are not right for you and walk away. Either way, acceptance frees you from endless frustration. One of the most powerful ways to cultivate acceptance is through gratitude. Gratitude does not erase the pain, but it shifts your focus from what went wrong to what is still good. Even in the hardest times, there is always something to be thankful for: the breath in your lungs, the lessons you are learning, the strength you are developing, the people who stand by you. Gratitude transforms resistance into acceptance because it gently reminds you, even though life is not perfect right now, there is still good here. And when you focus on that good, calmness begins to rise again. Another way to practice acceptance is through the phrase, "It is what it is." These 5 simple words hold great power. They don't mean you stop caring. They don't mean you quit. They mean you release the fight against what cannot be changed. When something happens beyond your control, repeating this phrase grounds you. It reminds you to save your energy for the things you can influence instead of wasting it on what is already written. Look at nature for guidance. A tree does not resist the wind. It bends with it, and by bending, it survives. The river does not resist the rocks in its path. It flows around them, and by flowing, it continues its journey. The flower does not resist the season. It blooms in spring, rests in winter, and by surrendering, it thrives. Nature is filled with acceptance, and that is why it remains balanced. Human beings, however, often resist, and that resistance is what creates stress. Learn from nature, bend, flow, and surrender, not as a sign of weakness, but as a sign of wisdom. Acceptance also helps you to stop fighting yourself. Many people live in constant war with who they are. They beat themselves up for mistakes, criticize themselves for flaws, and live in shame for things they cannot change. But self-acceptance is one of the most important forms of acceptance. You cannot be at peace in the world if you are at war with yourself. Accepting yourself, your strengths, your weaknesses, your past, your scars, does not mean you stop growing. It means you finally stop rejecting yourself. It means you finally give yourself permission to breathe. And in that self-acceptance, stress begins to fade. To live with acceptance is to live with wisdom. It is the wisdom of knowing the difference between what you can control and what you cannot. It is the wisdom of saving your energy for the things that truly matter. It is the wisdom of choosing calmness over chaos, peace over resistance, clarity over denial. The next time life feels overwhelming, stop and ask yourself, am I suffering because of the situation itself, or because I am refusing to accept it? Most of the time, the greater pain comes not from the problem itself, but from the endless battle in your mind against reality. The moment you accept, the weight begins to lift. The moment you surrender, peace begins to return. So if you want to stay calm and positive when life gets tough, learn to practice acceptance. Accept what is beyond your control. Accept what has already happened. Accept people as they are. Accept yourself fully. Acceptance is not the end of growth. It is the beginning. Because only when you stop fighting reality can you begin to create a better future. And in that acceptance you will discover an unshakable strength, a calmness that no storm can break, and a positivity that no darkness can steal. 9. Patience is the hidden power. If calmness is the foundation of peace, then patience is the bridge that carries you through the storm. Most people misunderstand patience. They think patience is passive waiting, doing nothing while life happens to them. But true patience is not weak. It is strength under control. It is the ability to remain steady when your mind wants to panic, to remain calm when your emotions want to explode, and to keep moving forward even when progress feels invisible. Patience is not about waiting for things to happen. It is about how you carry yourself while you wait. And in the toughest times of life, patience becomes your hidden power. When stress takes over, it is often because the mind is demanding instant results. You want healing now. You want success now. You want answers now. And when reality refuses to move at the speed of your desires, frustration rises. Your heart becomes restless, your body tense, your thoughts filled with doubt. This is the poison of impatience. It makes you believe that if something is not happening quickly, it will never happen at all. But life does not work on your timetable. Growth takes time. Healing takes time. Change takes time. If you do not understand this, you will remain stressed because you will always be at war with time itself. Patience is the cure for this war. Patience whispers to you, slow down. You do not have to figure it all out right now. The storm will pass. The answers will come. The wounds will heal. Trust the process. With patience, you stop trying to force the river to flow faster, and you allow it to carry you at its natural pace. This surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It is understanding that everything in life unfolds in its season, and forcing it only creates more pain. Just as you cannot pull on a seed to make it grow into a tree faster, you cannot rush the natural timing of your life. Patience allows you to step back, breathe, and trust that time itself is working for you, not against you. Think of a farmer who plants seeds in his field. He does not dig them up the next day in frustration, wondering why nothing has grown. He does not shout at the soil, demanding fruit before its time. He trusts the process. He waters the soil, nurtures the ground, and waits, knowing that growth is happening even when he cannot see it. Impatience would destroy the harvest. Patience makes the harvest possible. Life is the same. Your efforts are like seeds. Just because you cannot see results immediately does not mean nothing is happening. Growth is taking place in silence, beneath the surface, out of your sight. Patience keeps you steady until the fruit arrives. Patience is also the shield against emotional explosions. When you lack patience, anger becomes your default reaction. The moment something goes wrong, you lash out in words or actions you later regret. But with patience, you create space between the problem and your response. You remind yourself, I do not need to react immediately. I do not need to add fire to this moment. I can wait, think, and respond wisely. This small pause makes a world of difference. It keeps you calm. It protects your relationships, and it helps you make decisions that build your future instead of destroying it. Without patience, you burn bridges. With patience, you build them. Another hidden strength of patience is resilience. Impatience often leads to giving up too soon. People quit because they do not see results quickly enough. They abandon their dreams because the road feels long. They lose hope because change does not happen overnight. But patience keeps you walking even when progress is slow. Patience says, step by step, keep going. You are further than you were yesterday, even if you cannot see it yet. This resilience transforms stress into steady effort. Instead of collapsing under the weight of delay, you use the delay to strengthen your endurance. And the truth is, those who practice patience often go further than those who rely only on bursts of motivation, because patience sustains you long after motivation fades. Patience also changes how you view suffering. When you are impatient, suffering feels unbearable because you demand that it end immediately. Every moment of pain feels like an eternity. But when you embrace patience, you begin to see suffering differently. You understand that pain is not endless, that it has a season, and that enduring it will make you stronger. This perspective does not erase the pain, but it lightens the burden. You no longer see suffering as permanent torture. You see it as temporary training. Stress loses its grip when you believe your endurance has meaning. One of the greatest examples of patience can be seen in nature itself. Consider the mountains. They were not formed in a day. They rose slowly, over centuries, through pressure and persistence. Or think about the ocean waves. They erode rock, not by force in a single moment, but by steady repetition over time. Greatness is always born from patience, not from rushing. If nature itself honors patience, why should we expect our lives to move without it? Patience also frees you from comparison. Much of modern stress comes from looking at others and wondering why their lives seem to be moving faster than yours. You see someone achieving success sooner, someone healing quicker, someone reaching milestones while you feel left behind. Impatience whispers, "You are failing. You are too slow. You will never catch up." But patience reminds you that life is not a race. It is a personal journey. Just as flowers bloom at different times, people bloom at different times too. The rose does not envy the lotus, and the lotus does not envy the rose. Each has its own timing, its own beauty, its own purpose. Patience allows you to accept your timing without bitterness, and that acceptance brings calmness. To build patience, you must practice small acts of waiting every day. When you're stuck in traffic, instead of exploding with frustration, use that moment to breathe, reflect, or listen to something uplifting. When you face a delay in your plans, instead of panicking, remind yourself, perhaps this delay is protecting me. Perhaps it is guiding me towards something better. When you do not see results immediately, remind yourself, seeds take time to grow. My time will come. These daily practices strengthen your patience muscle, and the stronger it becomes, the calmer and more positive you will feel. Patience also gives you the ability to trust. Trust in yourself, trust in the process, trust in life. When you are patient, you no longer need to control everything. You no longer need to demand that life obey your schedule. You release that tension, and with it, stress begins to fade. Trust and patience walk hand in hand. Without one, the other cannot exist. If you trust, you wait calmly. If you wait calmly, you are trusting. And in this state, you carry a quiet confidence that steadies you even in chaos. It is important to recognize that patience is not endless waiting without action. It is not sitting on your hands while life passes by. True patience is active. It is continuing to put in effort, continuing to water the seeds, continuing to show up each day, even when results are invisible. Patience is not the absence of effort. It is the presence of faith. You keep working, not because you demand instant results, but because you believe they will eventually come. This active patience is the key to staying calm while still moving forward. And here lies the hidden power of patience. It protects your peace while building your future. Without it, stress will eat away at your mind, making every delay feel unbearable. But with it, stress loses its voice because you know delays are not denials. They are simply part of the journey. You no longer demand instant answers because you trust that answers come in time. You no longer collapse in despair when things move slowly because you know slow progress is still progress. You no longer live in constant comparison because you know your timeline is your own. Patience is not glamorous. It is not celebrated in loud victories or dramatic moments, but it is the quiet force that carries you through every storm. It is the steady hand that holds you upright when life pushes you down. It is the calm voice that reminds you, keep going. This moment is not forever. Your time will come. Without patience, stress will always control you. With patience, you control stress. So remember this: life is not a race to the finish. It is a journey of seasons, each one with its own pace. Some seasons are fast, some are slow. Some are filled with joy, some with pain. But if you can master the art of patience, you will find calmness in every season, positivity in every step, and strength in every delay. Patience is not just waiting, it is living with trust, with endurance, and with quiet confidence that everything is unfolding as it should. And when you live with this kind of patience, stress no longer overwhelms you. Instead, you become unshakable, calm, steady, and strong, no matter how tough life gets. 10. Inner stillness is greater than outer control. One of the greatest causes of stress is the illusion that we must control everything outside of us in order to feel calm. People spend enormous amounts of energy trying to shape the world to their liking, controlling how others think of them, controlling the outcomes of every situation, controlling the way life unfolds moment by moment. And yet, no matter how much effort they pour into this pursuit, they always discover the same truth. The outside world is beyond their full control. People will act in ways you cannot predict. Circumstances will unfold in ways you did not plan. Events will rise and fall like waves, often without your permission. The more you cling to the illusion of control, the more restless you become. But when you discover the power of inner stillness, you find a calmness that no outside chaos can steal. Inner stillness does not mean the absence of problems. It means a mind that remains steady even when the outside is shaking. It is the quiet confidence that says, I may not control the storm, but I can control the way I sail through it. This shift of focus from outer control to inner calm is what transforms stress into peace. Because the truth is, peace never comes from perfect circumstances. Peace comes from mastering your response to imperfect circumstances. Imagine trying to calm a lake by pressing down on the surface of the water with your hands. The more you press, the more ripples you create. This is what happens when you try to force control on the outside world. But imagine instead letting the water settle on its own, while you remain still beside it. Slowly, the ripples fade, and the surface becomes calm again. This is the wisdom of inner stillness. It does not fight the ripples, it waits for them to settle. Many people live in constant tension because they measure peace by how well things go their way. If life is smooth, they are happy. If life is rough, they are miserable. Their inner world is at the mercy of the outside world. But those who discover stillness carry peace with them regardless of what happens. They are like a candle in the wind. It may flicker, but it does not go out. Inner stillness is not about controlling life. It is about not letting life control you. How do you cultivate this stillness? The first step is awareness. Become aware of how much energy you spend trying to control what is not yours to control. Notice how often you stress over other people's opinions, how often you replay conversations in your head, how often you demand that situations unfold according to your script. Each of these is a seed of stress, because each is an attempt to dominate what lies beyond your reach. Once you become aware, you can begin to release. You remind yourself, I do not need to control everything to be at peace. I only need to control myself. This thought alone can lift a weight from your chest. Another way to build inner stillness is through the practice of pausing. When something unexpected happens, instead of rushing into reaction, give yourself a small pause. Breathe, step back. In that pause, you reclaim your power. The situation may still be out of your hands, but your response is not. With practice, this pause becomes your shield. It protects you from being swept away by every wave of emotion. In that pause, you can choose patience over anger, faith over fear, clarity over panic. Inner stillness also comes from acceptance, a lesson you've already seen in earlier teachings. Acceptance and stillness are brothers. They walk together. When you accept what is, you stop thrashing against reality and the mind begins to settle. Instead of shouting at the rain to stop, you take shelter, and in doing so, you preserve your calmness. Stillness does not resist life. It flows with it. That flow is not passive. It is active wisdom. It is the decision to save your energy for what you can shape, your thoughts, your actions, your choices, while releasing the rest. There is also great power in silence. Silence is the soil in which stillness grows. In today's world, people fill every moment with noise, music, notifications, chatter, distractions. They fear silence because silence forces them to face themselves. But silence is where inner strength is built. Sit quietly each day, even for a few minutes. Listen to your breath. Feel your heartbeat. Let your thoughts pass without chasing them. Over time, this practice builds a reservoir of stillness within you. Then, when life grows loud, you draw from that reservoir and you remain calm. Consider the example of great leaders and sages throughout history. The ones who carried the deepest influence were not those who shouted the loudest or tried to control every detail of life. They were those who carried stillness inside them. Their calmness in crisis gave others strength. Their refusal to be shaken by circumstances gave them clarity when others panicked. This is the secret. Power does not come from controlling the outside. It comes from mastering the inside. Another dimension of inner stillness is detachment. Detachment does not mean indifference. It means you stop clinging desperately to outcomes. You give your best effort, but you do not let your peace depend on the result. If things go your way, you remain steady. If they don't, you remain steady. Detachment gives you freedom because it breaks the chain that ties your emotions to external results. You realize that calmness is not a reward you earn when things go well. It is a state you choose, regardless of what happens. Inner stillness also transforms relationships. When you are not calm within, you react to others impulsively. You argue, you shout, you defend yourself unnecessarily. But when you carry stillness, you listen more, you speak less, and your presence itself becomes soothing. People trust those who remain calm in conflict because calmness radiates safety. Stressful situations become easier to manage, not because they disappeared, but because your stillness created a space for wisdom to act. And perhaps the greatest gift of inner stillness is freedom. Freedom from being tossed around by every problem. Freedom from being enslaved by fear of the future. Freedom from living only in reaction to what others do. Stillness gives you the strength to stand tall in the middle of chaos and say, I am at peace, not because life is perfect, but because I am steady within myself. That is a power no one can take from you. The world will always have storms. People will always have opinions. Circumstances will always change. But your inner stillness can remain if you choose to cultivate it. It is not built in a single day, but in daily practice. Pausing, breathing, accepting, reflecting, choosing silence, releasing control. Each act strengthens your stillness, and the stronger it grows, the less power stress has over you. Remember, calmness is not found in controlling the outer world. It is found in mastering your inner world. When you discover this, you will no longer fear life's storms because you will carry your own anchor wherever you go. Inner stillness is greater than outer control, and once you learn to live from this truth, nothing outside of you can truly shake your peace. 11. The calm mind sees what stress blinds. When life becomes overwhelming, stress acts like fog. It clouds your vision, distorts your perception, and makes even small problems look enormous. You begin to misread situations, overreact to challenges, and create disasters in your imagination that do not even exist in reality. Stress makes you feel trapped, not because the situation itself is impossible, but because your mind is too clouded to see clearly. But when you remain calm, the fog begins to lift. You start to see the road ahead. You begin to notice solutions that were invisible before. You realize that much of your suffering came not from the challenge itself, but from the way stress blinded you to the truth. This is the hidden power of calmness. It sharpens your vision. A calm mind sees what a stressed mind cannot. Think of a driver navigating a car through thick fog. The road is still there, the path is not gone, but because vision is blurred, the driver feels unsafe, unsure, and fearful. Every shadow looks like a danger. Every curve looks like a trap. This is exactly how stress works. It blinds you. But when the fog clears, suddenly the same road feels manageable. You see the lanes, you notice the turns, and you realize that the fear was not about the road, it was about the fog. Calmness is the clearing of this fog. It allows you to see the situation as it really is, not as your fear exaggerates it. This is why decisions made in stress are often regretted. How many times have you spoken words in anger that you later wished you could take back? How many times have you quit too soon because impatience clouded your judgment? How many times have you assumed the worst about a situation only to realize later it was not as bad as you thought? Stress is like a magnifying glass held to your fears. It makes them look larger and more threatening than they truly are. But a calm mind steps back, observes carefully, and makes decisions from clarity rather than panic. When you are calm, you gain perspective. You begin to see that most problems are not permanent prisons, but temporary obstacles. You begin to separate what truly matters from what does not. Stress blurs these distinctions, making every small inconvenience feel like a life or death crisis. Calmness restores balance. It allows you to say, "This is worth my energy, and this is not. This is a mountain, but this is only a pebble. I do not need to treat everything as an emergency." That perspective alone can reduce your stress by half, because much of what drains you daily is not the weight of the mountain. It is the weight of carrying pebbles as if they were mountains. Calmness also gives you access to creativity. When you are stressed, your brain shifts into survival mode. It narrows its focus, scanning only for threats, shutting down the higher functions of imagination and problem-solving. That is why in moments of panic, solutions feel impossible. But when you calm yourself, your mind opens again. Ideas begin to flow. You see possibilities instead of only dangers. You think of new approaches, creative solutions, and opportunities hidden within the challenge. Many breakthroughs in history were born not from frantic activity, but from moments of calm reflection. Calmness unlocks wisdom because it frees the mind from fear. Another important truth is that calmness improves relationships. Stress makes you misinterpret others. You take offense quickly, you assume bad intentions, you respond defensively. But when you are calm, you listen better. You hear what people actually mean, not what your stress makes you imagine they mean. You respond with patience rather than attack. This prevents unnecessary conflicts and builds stronger connections. A calm presence not only benefits you, but also influences others. When you remain steady, others around you begin to steady themselves. Just as panic spreads like wildfire, calmness spreads like sunlight. It warms and reassures everyone it touches. Consider how surgeons, pilots, or emergency workers train themselves. They face life and death situations, but they know that stress can cost lives. So they discipline their minds to remain calm under pressure. Why? Because a calm mind sees details, notices patterns, and makes wise decisions quickly. A stressed mind freezes or overreacts. You may not be performing surgery or flying a plane, but the principle is the same. In every crisis of life, calmness allows you to see clearly while stress blinds you. But how do you build this calm vision in daily life? The first step is awareness of your stress triggers. Notice the moments when your heart races, your thoughts spiral, and your body tenses. In those moments, pause. Breathe deeply. Remind yourself, I may not see clearly right now. I will wait for the fog to settle before making a choice. This simple act of pausing can save you from countless regrets. Another practice is mindfulness, training your attention to stay in the present. Stress often blinds you because it pulls your mind into an imagined future of disasters or drags you into a past filled with regrets. But the present is usually less threatening than your mind makes it seem. By anchoring yourself in the now, you reduce the power of imagined fears. You remind yourself, right now, I am safe. Right now, I can breathe. Right now, I can take one step forward. That clarity is often all you need to break free from panic. Calmness also requires trust. Trust that you can handle what comes, even if it is difficult. Stress blinds you by whispering, you will not survive this. You are not strong enough. This is the end. But calmness replies, I have survived before. I have faced storms before. I can handle this one too. This trust clears the fog of fear and restores your vision. It allows you to see not only the problem, but also the strength you carry within to face it. And finally, calmness requires practice. Just as a muscle grows stronger through exercise, calmness grows stronger through repeated use. Practice calmness in small daily situations. A delayed bus, a spilled drink, a misunderstanding. Each time you choose calm over panic, you strengthen the muscle of clarity. Then, when the big storms come, you will already be trained. You will already know how to see clearly while others are blinded. The calm mind is like a lighthouse in the storm. While the waves crash and the winds howl, the lighthouse remains steady, shining its light to guide ships to safety. Stress is the storm, but calmness is the lighthouse. If you carry calmness within, you not only guide yourself, but also inspire others to find their way. So remember this truth: calmness is not weakness. It is wisdom, it is clarity, it is strength. A calm mind sees solutions where a stressed mind sees only problems. A calm mind sees opportunities where a stressed mind sees only obstacles. A calm mind sees hope where a stressed mind sees only despair. The next time life overwhelms you, do not let stress blind you. Choose calmness, clear the fog, and see the truth. Because in the end, it is not the challenge itself that breaks you. It is the blindness of stress. With calmness, you can see clearly, and with clarity, you can overcome anything. 12. The power of choosing response over reaction. Every human being faces moments when life provokes them, when words sting, when situations frustrate, when events unfold in ways that feel unfair. In those moments, the natural instinct is to react instantly. Anger rises, fear takes control, and words or actions spill out before you have had time to think. These reactions may last only seconds, but their consequences can last years. A single harsh word spoken in anger can break a relationship that took decades to build. A single rash decision made in panic can destroy opportunities that will never return. This is why one of the greatest sources of stress is not the challenge itself. It is our uncontrolled reaction to it. Yet within this truth lies a powerful key. Calmness grows when you learn to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting impulsively. Reaction is automatic, response is deliberate. Reaction is driven by emotion, response is guided by wisdom. Reaction comes from the surface of your mind, response rises from the depths of your character. To remain calm and positive when life is difficult, you must master the space between stimulus and response. That space, Those few seconds of pause is where your freedom lies. Stress pushes you to believe you have no choice, that you must act instantly, that you must let anger or fear take over. But in reality, you always have a choice. You may not control what happens to you, but you always control how you respond to it. Think of fire. When someone throws sparks into your direction, you can either respond with water or with gasoline. Gasoline will make the fire explode. Water will put it out. The sparks may not be your fault, but what you choose to throw back determines the outcome. Many people live in constant stress because they keep throwing gasoline into every spark. They respond to insult with insult, to anger with anger, to fear with panic. The result is an endless cycle of conflict and unrest. But those who learn to throw water instead, those who pause, breathe, and respond with calmness, break the cycle. They remain steady while others burn out. Reaction is tempting because it gives instant release. Anger gives a temporary feeling of power. Panic gives a temporary feeling of doing something. But once the moment passes, regret sets in. How many times have you reacted in anger only to later say, "I wish I had stayed calm"? How many times have you made a rushed decision under stress only to later realize, "If I had waited, I would have seen clearly"? The instant pleasure of reaction is always followed by the long pain of regret. But the discipline of response may feel difficult in the moment, yet it always brings long-lasting peace. The art of response begins with awareness. You must become mindful of your triggers, those moments, people, or situations that usually provoke your stress. Perhaps it is when someone criticizes you unfairly. Perhaps it is when delays happen in your plans. Perhaps it is when life surprises you with sudden problems. In these moments, pause. Notice your body, your quickened heartbeat, your tightened chest, your racing thoughts. These are signs that reaction is coming. In that pause, you must remind yourself, "I am not a slave to this emotion. I can choose my response." That reminder alone can save you from countless mistakes. Another way to build response over reaction is through practice in small matters. Life gives you many opportunities to train. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can choose whether to scream in frustration or to breathe and let it go. When you spill something or make a mistake, you can choose whether to curse yourself or to calmly clean it up and move forward. These small victories over reaction strengthen your self-control. Then, when bigger storms arrive, you are already trained to pause, breathe, and choose wisely. Calmness becomes your habit, not just a theory. Response also requires perspective. When you react impulsively, it is usually because you are zoomed in too closely on the moment. You see only the insult, the inconvenience, or the problem in front of you, and it feels enormous. But if you zoom out, if you see the bigger picture, you realize most triggers are small in the scale of your life. Will this problem matter a year from now? Will this insult define who you are? Most likely not. Calmness comes when you remind yourself, "This is temporary, this is small, I will not give it power over my peace." With that perspective, your response becomes lighter, wiser, and calmer. One of the greatest examples of response over reaction is found in those who lead in times of crisis. History remembers not the leaders who panicked, but the ones who remained steady when everyone else lost control. Their calm responses guided entire nations, families, or communities through storms. Why? Because their calmness gave them clarity. They saw options others missed. They created hope when others spread fear. They responded with wisdom instead of reacting with chaos. You may not be leading a nation, but you are leading your own life, and the principle is the same. Your calm responses will shape your destiny more than the storms themselves. It is also important to understand that responding instead of reacting is not about suppressing your emotions. Suppression is dangerous. It builds pressure inside until you eventually explode. Response is about feeling your emotions, acknowledging them, but not letting them control your actions. For example, you may feel anger rising in your chest. Instead of denying it, you pause, breathe, and then choose words that express your feelings firmly but calmly. This way, you honor your emotions without being enslaved by them. That balance is what creates true calmness. Response also requires humility. Many reactions come from pride, the ego screaming, "How dare they disrespect me? I must prove myself. I must win this argument." But humility whispers, "I do not need to react to every provocation. My peace is worth more than my pride." This humility does not make you weak. It makes you untouchable, because when you no longer need to prove yourself to everyone, their words lose their power over you. You stop reacting to every arrow because you know arrows cannot harm someone who chooses peace over pride. The calm response is also contagious. When someone attacks you with anger, they expect anger in return. But when you respond calmly, you break their rhythm. Your calmness often disarms their aggression. This is why conflicts sometimes dissolve, not because one side shouted louder, but because one side refused to react at all. Calmness interrupts the cycle. Calmness changes the tone. Calmness creates space for peace where stress once ruled. Finally, responding instead of reacting gives you mastery over your life. Every time you react, you give away control. You let the outside world dictate your mood, your words, your actions. But every time you respond thoughtfully, you reclaim control. You become the master of yourself. This mastery is the highest form of freedom because it means nothing outside of you can dictate your inner peace. So the next time life provokes you, remember, you always have a choice. You can react impulsively and feed the fire, or you can pause, breathe, and respond with calmness. That choice may seem small in the moment, but it shapes the quality of your entire life. Because in the end, life is not just what happens to you, it is how you choose to respond. And when you make that choice with calmness and positivity, stress no longer rules your destiny, you do. 13. The strength of detachment, finding peace in letting go of control. One of the heaviest burdens human beings carry is the need to control everything around them. People desperately try to control outcomes, relationships, situations, and even the flow of life itself. They want people to behave a certain way. They want events to unfold according to their exact plans, and they want the world to bend to their expectations. And when life inevitably refuses to obey, frustration, anger, and stress rise like a storm inside them. This endless battle with reality is one of the greatest sources of human suffering. The truth is simple. The more you cling, the more you hurt. The more you try to force, the more resistance you face. But when you learn the strength of detachment, when you master the art of letting go of control, you discover a peace that cannot be shaken. Detachment is often misunderstood. Many people think detachment means indifference, coldness, or a lack of care. They fear that if they detach, they will stop loving, stop striving, stop building. But true detachment is not about caring less. It is about caring wisely. It is not about abandoning effort. It is about releasing obsession. Detachment means you give your best to life, but you do not chain your peace to the outcome. It means you engage fully in the present moment, but you do not cling desperately to how it must unfold. This is not weakness, it is wisdom, because when you stop trying to control the uncontrollable, you free yourself from unnecessary stress and discover a calmness that is unshakable. Think of a bird in flight. It flaps its wings with effort, but it also trusts the wind. If the bird tried to control the wind, it would exhaust itself and fall. But by working with the wind, not against it, the bird soars effortlessly. Detachment works the same way. You put in effort, you study, you work, you love, you care. But you also release your obsessive need to force outcomes. You stop trying to control the wind of life and instead you ride it with trust. The result is not passivity, it is freedom. When you cling too tightly, you create suffering. Imagine holding a rope tied to a moving horse. If you cling with all your strength, the rope burns your hands and drags you painfully. But if you release your grip, the pain ends. This is the difference between attachment and detachment. Attachment keeps you tied to suffering because you demand that life move according to your will. Detachment frees you because you understand that life has its own flow and fighting it only harms you. Detachment is especially powerful in relationships. Many people live in stress because they cling to others with unhealthy attachment. They try to control how others think, feel, and act. They believe their happiness depends entirely on the approval or presence of another person. And when that person disappoints them or leaves, their world collapses. But when you practice detachment, you begin to see relationships differently. You realize, I can love deeply, but I do not need to own or control anyone. I can give my heart, but I will not chain my peace to someone else's choices. This perspective frees you from endless disappointment. You love more purely because your love is not mixed with desperation. You become calmer because you are no longer enslaved to the unpredictable behavior of others. Detachment is equally important in the pursuit of goals. Ambition is good. Discipline is good. Striving for success is good. But when ambition becomes obsession, when your peace depends entirely on whether things go exactly as you planned, you set yourself up for stress. A detached person still works hard, still gives everything, but they understand that outcomes are not fully in their hands. They trust that if something is meant for them, it will come. If it is not, something better will arrive. This trust does not weaken effort, it strengthens it, because your mind is no longer burdened by fear. You act freely, without the chains of desperation. Think of an archer shooting an arrow. The archer trains, prepares, takes aim, and releases with precision. But once the arrow leaves the bow, it is beyond their control. Wind, distance, and movement may all affect its path. The wise archer does not collapse in despair because they cannot control the air. They focus on what they can control, their aim, their practice, their posture. Detachment is the same. You focus on what is within your control, your effort, your attitude, your integrity. You release what is beyond your control, other people, external circumstances, and the flow of time. Stress arises when you try to control both. Peace arises when you master the first and release the second. Another gift of detachment is clarity. When you are too attached, your vision is clouded. You make decisions out of fear, desperation, or pride. You may cling to toxic relationships because you fear being alone. You may force failing plans because you are desperate not to look weak. But when you detach, you see more clearly. You are no longer blinded by fear. You can say, this relationship is harming me, so I will let it go. You can say, this plan is not working, so I will adjust. Detachment allows you to make wise choices because your peace is not chained to forcing one outcome. Detachment also protects you from emotional exhaustion. When you cling to every problem, when you try to fix everyone, when you carry burdens that are not yours to carry, you drain yourself, you burn out. But detachment teaches you boundaries. It teaches you to help where you can, but not at the cost of your own health. It teaches you to support others without trying to live their lives for them. It teaches you to accept that some battles are not yours to fight. This wisdom preserves your energy, making you calmer, stronger, and more positive. And here lies the paradox. Detachment actually allows you to enjoy life more deeply. When you cling desperately, fear is always in the background. You fear losing what you have. You fear not getting what you want. You fear that things will not go your way. This fear robs you of joy. But when you detach, you can enjoy the present moment without fear. You can love without chains, work without desperation, live without constant anxiety. You realize that peace does not come from controlling life. It comes from flowing with it. One of the most powerful practices to cultivate detachment is daily reflection. At the end of each day, ask yourself, what did I try to control today that was never mine to control? Maybe it was someone else's opinion, maybe it was the timing of events, maybe it was the outcome of your effort. Then remind yourself, I release this. I did my part. The rest is not mine to carry. Over time, this practice retrains your mind to focus only on what truly belongs to you. The result is a life of far less stress and far more calmness. Detachment is not about giving up. It is about giving your best and then letting life do the rest. It is about trusting the flow instead of exhausting yourself fighting against it. It is about remembering that peace is worth more than control. When you master this, you will carry a calmness that no loss can break, a positivity that no failure can steal, and a strength that no storm can shake. So let this be your reminder. The more tightly you cling, the more you suffer. The more you release, the more you live. True freedom is not in controlling everything. It is in knowing you do not need to. That is the strength of detachment. And with it, you will find a calmness and positivity that will guide you through even the toughest moments of life. 14. Mastering emotional alchemy. Turning negativity into inner strength. Life is not designed to give us only comfort, joy, and ease. Inevitably, we face criticism, betrayal, disappointment, failure, and loss. These moments create powerful emotions: anger, sadness, fear, jealousy, anxiety, and most people allow these emotions to control them. They react with outbursts, collapse under pressure, or let bitterness poison their heart. They see negative emotions as enemies to fight or as burdens to escape. But there is another way, a way that belongs to the calm, the wise, the resilient. That way is emotional alchemy, the art of transforming negative emotions into inner strength. Just as ancient alchemists sought to turn base metals into gold, you too can turn pain into wisdom, anger into courage, and fear into focus. This mastery is one of the greatest secrets to staying calm and positive when life becomes difficult. The first truth to understand is that emotions are energy. They are not inherently good or bad. They are signals, messages from your inner world, telling you something about your current state. Anger may be signaling a boundary that has been crossed. Fear may be signaling a challenge ahead that requires preparation. Sadness may be signaling a need for healing or reflection. If you resist these emotions, they grow stronger. If you suppress them, they come back later with greater force. But if you acknowledge them, listen to them, and then channel them wisely, you transform them. Instead of being a victim of emotions, you become their master. Consider anger. For many, anger explodes into destructive words or violent actions. But anger is also energy. It is intensity, fire, drive. That same fire, when mastered, can fuel action for justice, change, or personal growth. History is full of people who turned their anger at injustice into movements that changed the world. The difference is not the presence of anger, but the mastery of it. A calm person does not suppress anger. They direct it. They ask, what is this emotion telling me, and how can I use it without letting it destroy me? That is emotional alchemy, turning fire into light. Now consider fear. Fear paralyzes many people, making them avoid opportunities, silence their voice, or remain trapped in comfort zones. But fear is also energy. It is heightened awareness, sharper focus, and potential readiness. A calm person does not deny fear. They admit it, then channel it. Fear becomes the reminder to prepare carefully, to step forward with awareness, to respect the challenge while not being enslaved by it. Many great achievements were born not in the absence of fear, but in its transformation. Fear did not disappear, it became focus. That is emotional alchemy, turning shadows into guides. Sadness, too, carries hidden strength. At first, it feels heavy, slowing your steps and dimming your joy. But sadness softens the heart, making it more compassionate, more understanding of others' pain. Without sadness, you would never truly appreciate joy. Without loss, you would never truly value what you have. Sadness teaches gratitude. It teaches humility. It teaches the preciousness of every moment. A calm person does not run from sadness. They sit with it, listen to it, and allow it to deepen their humanity. That is emotional alchemy, turning tears into wisdom. Jealousy, often seen as purely destructive, can also be transformed. Jealousy is simply the awareness that someone else has something you desire. Left unchecked, it breeds resentment, but transformed, it becomes motivation, showing you what is possible for you as well. Instead of saying, "Why them and not me?" you begin to say, "If it is possible for them, it can be possible for me too." Calmness allows you to flip jealousy into inspiration, to use it as fuel for your own journey instead of poison for your peace. The key to emotional alchemy is presence. You cannot transform an emotion if you are unconscious of it. Most people are swept away by their emotions because they never stop to observe them. They feel anger and immediately lash out. They feel fear and immediately hide. They feel sadness and immediately drown in despair. But if you pause, if you take a breath and observe the emotion as it rises, you create space. That space is where transformation happens. In that pause, you can ask, what is this emotion trying to tell me? How can I use this energy to grow instead of letting it control me? The pause is where you move from being a slave of emotion to being its master. Emotional alchemy also requires reframing. The way you label your emotions determines the power they have over you. If you say, "This anger is destroying me," you become its victim. But if you say, "This anger is energy pushing me to defend my values," you reclaim power. If you say, "This fear will ruin me," you collapse. But if you say, "This fear is sharpening me, preparing me," you rise. Words shape perception, and perception shapes reality. A calm mind chooses empowering frames, and in doing so, turns darkness into light. Another practice for mastering emotional alchemy is expression. Energy must move. If you bottle emotions inside, they eventually explode. But if you channel them wisely, they transform. This could be through writing, where you pour your thoughts on paper and release their grip. It could be through physical activity, where you let the body move the energy that the mind cannot. It could be through art, prayer, or conversation with someone you trust. The point is not to deny emotions, but to give them a path to flow into something constructive. That flow is the process of alchemy. It turns raw energy into purposeful action. Calmness is not the absence of emotions, it is the mastery of them. It is standing in the fire of anger without being burned. It is walking through the shadows of fear without losing your way. It is holding sadness in your heart without letting it drown you. Calmness is the proof that you can feel deeply yet remain steady. And when you master this, stress loses its grip, because you are no longer tossed around by every emotion. You are steering them. Detachment, which we explored earlier, plays an important role here too. Detachment does not mean you feel nothing. It means you refuse to be owned by your emotions. You may feel anger, but you do not let it dictate your words. You may feel fear, but you do not let it stop your actions. You may feel sadness, but you do not let it define your identity. You observe, you learn, you channel. You remain calm in the storm because you are not the storm, you are the sky that holds it. The greatest benefit of emotional alchemy is transformation. Every negative emotion, once mastered, becomes strength. Anger becomes courage. Fear becomes awareness. Sadness becomes depth. Jealousy becomes motivation. Anxiety becomes energy for preparation. Even failure becomes wisdom. Nothing is wasted, nothing is lost. Every emotion is raw material waiting for you to shape it. Stress dominates those who resist emotions. Calmness empowers those who transform them. This is why wise people often seem unshakable. It is not because they feel nothing, it is because they feel everything, but they have learned to transform it. Life throws the same emotions at them as it does at everyone else, but instead of drowning in them, they build bridges from them. They do not fear emotions, they use them as tools. This is the true art of emotional alchemy. You can begin practicing this today. The next time you feel anger rising, pause and ask, how can I use this energy to set boundaries or fuel progress? The next time fear grips you, say, this is my mind sharpening me. How can I prepare better? The next time sadness weighs on you, whisper, this is teaching me compassion. How can I let it open my heart instead of closing it? Each practice strengthens your mastery until eventually calmness becomes your natural state. So remember, negative emotions are not your enemy. They are energy waiting to be shaped. If you resist them, they control you. If you suppress them, they destroy you. But if you master them, they strengthen you. That is the power of emotional alchemy, the ability to turn life's pain into your greatest teacher and life's storms into your strongest fuel. With this mastery, you will not only remain calm and positive in hard times, you will grow stronger because of them. 15. The art of endurance. Finding calmness in the long journey. Life is not a sprint, it is a marathon. Yet many people treat it as if every step should deliver instant results, instant happiness, instant clarity. They crave quick fixes and fast solutions, but when life resists, when progress feels slow, when challenges stretch longer than expected, they collapse under impatience. Stress grows because they measure success by speed instead of by strength. But those who endure, those who carry themselves with patience and calmness across the long journey, discover a secret. Endurance itself becomes a form of peace. To endure is not just to survive hardship, it is to walk steadily through it, holding your calmness even when the road seems endless. Endurance is often underestimated because it is quiet. It does not shine like sudden victories. It does not thrill like dramatic breakthroughs. Endurance is the silent power of showing up again and again, step after step, day after day. It is the strength to keep walking even when you are tired, to keep trying even when results are invisible, to keep believing even when life feels heavy. Endurance is not glamorous, but it is the very thing that separates those who fall apart under stress from those who rise with resilience. Stress often feels unbearable, not because the challenge is impossible, but because the mind keeps demanding that it should be over already. You think, why is this taking so long? Why can't it end now? Why must I keep carrying this burden? These thoughts multiply suffering because they add resistance to reality. But endurance whispers differently. Yes, it is hard. Yes, it is heavy. But you can take one more step. You can carry it one more day. You can breathe through one more moment. And when you focus only on the next step, the weight becomes bearable. Think of a mountain climber. The peak seems impossibly far when viewed from below. If the climber obsesses over the entire journey, they may collapse before they even begin. But the wise climber does not focus on the distant summit. They focus on one step, then another, then another. Slowly, steadily they rise, until one day they are standing at the peak. This is the art of endurance. It transforms overwhelming challenges into small, manageable steps. It keeps you calm by shifting your focus from the impossible whole to the possible next. Endurance is also built by remembering that nothing lasts forever. Every hardship, no matter how long it feels, eventually fades. Seasons change, pain softens, storms pass. When you endure, you remind yourself, This is temporary. I do not need to defeat it all at once. I only need to outlast it. And the truth is, you can outlast it. You are stronger than your mind tells you in moments of stress. Endurance is not about being unbreakable. It is about being unyielding. You may bend, you may tire, but you do not give up. Another aspect of endurance is rhythm. Those who burn themselves out in desperate sprints cannot endure long journeys. Endurance requires pacing yourself, finding a rhythm between effort and rest, between striving and stillness. Just as the heart beats in rhythm, just as the seasons move in rhythm, your life must also flow in rhythm. If you demand constant progress without pause, you exhaust your spirit. But if you learn to alternate between effort and calm reflection, you strengthen your ability to last. Endurance is not about running without rest. It is about resting wisely so you can continue running. Endurance also requires faith. Faith in yourself, faith in the process, faith in the unseen future. When you are stressed, your mind whispers, "This is pointless. Nothing will change. Why keep going?" But endurance answers, "I do not need to see the end to take the next step. I do not need to know all the answers to trust the journey." This faith is what steadies your heart. It allows you to keep moving forward calmly, even in the fog of uncertainty. Without faith, stress eats away at your resolve. With faith, endurance becomes possible. Consider the bamboo tree. For years after it is planted, nothing seems to happen. No visible growth above the ground. Impatient people might think the seed is dead, but underground the roots are spreading wide and deep, preparing for something greater. Then, suddenly, in a short span of time, the bamboo shoots up, growing rapidly into the sky. Endurance is like that. Sometimes you see no results for a long time, but growth is happening invisibly. Stress makes you demand instant results. Calm endurance reminds you that roots must grow before fruits appear. Endurance also protects you from despair. Despair comes when you convince yourself that pain will last forever, that you cannot hold on any longer. But endurance teaches you to break time into smaller pieces. You say to yourself, "I will not worry about forever. I will endure this day. I will endure this hour. I will endure this breath." And by enduring in small steps, you carry yourself across great distances. You realize that you do not need to conquer eternity. You only need to conquer the present moment again and again. This mindset transforms overwhelming suffering into bearable endurance. In relationships, endurance is just as important. Every bond will face storms, arguments, misunderstandings, disappointments. Without endurance, people give up quickly, abandoning what could have grown into something beautiful. But with endurance, people learn to work through conflicts, to forgive, to rebuild trust. Endurance says, this storm will pass and the bond will remain if we choose to hold on. Calmness in relationships is not built by avoiding problems. It is built by enduring through them with patience, compassion, and love. Endurance also refines character. It strips away superficial strength and reveals true resilience. Anyone can remain calm for a short while. Anyone can be positive when life is smooth. But true calmness is proven when you endure prolonged difficulty without losing yourself. Stress makes people reactive and bitter. Endurance keeps you steady, humble, and compassionate. It teaches you that strength is not loud. It is quiet persistence. Another truth is that endurance is contagious. When others see you remaining calm and steady through hardship, they draw courage from your example. Your endurance becomes their inspiration. Parents pass endurance to children. Leaders pass endurance to followers. Friends pass endurance to one another. Calmness multiplies when it is embodied by those who endure with grace. You may think your quiet endurance goes unnoticed, but it may be the very thing giving someone else the strength to continue. And here lies the ultimate secret. Endurance transforms suffering into meaning. Pain without endurance is just torture. But pain endured with calmness becomes growth. Every struggle you survive adds to your strength. Every hardship you endure deepens your wisdom. Every storm you pass through builds your resilience. Stress tells you that suffering is pointless. Endurance shows you that suffering can become your greatest teacher. So how do you build endurance? Begin with the small things. When you feel restless waiting in line, practice patience. When you face a small inconvenience, resist the urge to explode. Remind yourself you are training endurance. When challenges drag longer than expected, shift your focus from the finish line to the next step. Build rhythms of rest and effort. Practice gratitude for progress, even when it is small. Each practice builds your endurance muscle. Then, when great storms come, you will already have the strength to walk calmly through them. In the end, endurance is not about lasting forever. It is about lasting long enough. Long enough for the storm to pass. Long enough for healing to come. Long enough for change to appear. Long enough for roots to grow. The art of endurance is the art of carrying calmness across time. And when you master it, stress loses its power, because no matter how long the journey, you know you can walk it. So let this lesson sink deeply. Calmness is not proven in moments of ease. It is proven in seasons of endurance. Positivity is not proven when life is short and smooth. It is proven when life is long and heavy, yet you still smile, still breathe, still walk forward. That is the art of endurance. That is the path to true peace. 16. The sanctuary of inner balance. Staying centered when life pulls you apart. Life has a way of pulling you in 100 different directions at once. Responsibilities pile up, expectations weigh heavy. People demand your time, your energy, your attention. Work drags you one way, family pulls you another, and your own dreams and needs get lost somewhere in between. In the middle of all this, stress builds like pressure in a boiling pot. You feel torn, scattered, fragmented, as if pieces of you are being pulled apart and no piece is whole. This is one of the greatest challenges of modern life. Not the presence of problems, but the constant imbalance created by competing forces. Yet calmness is not found by escaping the chaos. It is found by building a sanctuary of inner balance that keeps you centered no matter what pulls at you from outside. Balance is not about making life perfect. It is not about dividing your time and energy into equal parts as if life were a neat equation. Balance is an inner state of alignment where you are steady within yourself, even if the outside is uneven. It is the ability to walk calmly through a storm without losing your footing. It is the strength to remain centered, not because life is easy, but because your mind and heart are anchored. Inner balance is not about controlling everything. It is about not letting everything control you. Stress thrives when you live lopsided. When you pour all of yourself into one area of life and neglect the others, imbalance grows. Perhaps you focus only on work and neglect your health until your body collapses. Perhaps you live only for others and never for yourself until resentment builds. Perhaps you chase success and ignore rest until burnout destroys your joy. Balance is not about choosing one or the other. It is about harmonizing them. A tree does not only grow branches upward, it also grows roots downward. If one side grows and the other does not, the tree cannot stand. The same is true for you. You cannot grow outward if you are not rooted inward. The first step to creating balance is awareness. Ask yourself honestly, where am I giving too much? Where am I giving too little? Stress often hides in the extremes. Too much work, too little rest. Too much giving, too little receiving. Too much planning, too little presence. When you identify these extremes, you can begin to correct them. Balance does not mean eliminating stress completely. It means ensuring that stress does not dominate your entire life. Balance is also about rhythm. Life is not meant to be constant strain nor constant ease. Just as the body inhales and exhales, just as day follows night, your life must flow between effort and rest, between doing and being, between speaking and silence. Stress rises when you demand only one side, when you only inhale without exhaling, or only exhale without inhaling. Calmness grows when you honor both. This is why rest is not laziness. It is part of balance. Silence is not wasted time. It is part of balance. Reflection is not distraction. It is part of balance. The greatest athletes, thinkers, and leaders understand this. Without rhythm, there is no balance, and without balance, there is no endurance. Another element of balance is boundaries. Much of your stress comes not from what life throws at you, but from what you allow into your life unchecked. When you say yes to everything, when you take on burdens that are not yours, when you let everyone pull at you without limits, you lose your center. Boundaries are not selfish. They are shields of balance. A river only flows powerfully because it has banks. Without boundaries, it would spill everywhere and lose its strength. In the same way, your energy only flows powerfully when you create limits. You must know when to say no, when to step back, when to protect your space. In doing so, you create balance between giving and keeping, between serving others and serving yourself. Inner balance is also strengthened by alignment with your values. Stress grows when you live in conflict with your deepest beliefs. If you value family but spend all your time chasing money, you will feel torn. If you value health but neglect your body, you will feel restless. If you value truth but live in pretense, you will feel divided. But when your actions align with your values, balance appears naturally. Calmness is not about having no problems. It is about knowing that you are living true to yourself. That alignment brings a quiet confidence, a peace that remains even when life is difficult. Another secret to balance is living in the present. Much imbalance comes from being pulled between past and future. You carry the weight of regrets behind you and the pressure of worries ahead of you, leaving little energy for now. But the present moment is always lighter than your imagination makes it. When you focus on the step in front of you instead of the whole road, balance returns. Presence is the anchor that steadies you when the waves of life try to drag you in different directions. Balance also comes from nurturing all parts of yourself, body, mind, and soul. Stress multiplies when you neglect one of these. If you care for your mind but ignore your body, your health will collapse. If you care for your body but neglect your soul, emptiness will creep in. If you care for your soul but ignore your responsibilities, your life will crumble. Balance is about tending to all three, not perfectly, but consistently. Move your body, feed your mind with wisdom, nourish your soul with silence or prayer. Each act keeps you steady. Each act brings you back to your center. Think of a tightrope walker crossing high above the ground. They do not walk without wobbling. They sway left, then right, correcting again and again. Balance is not the absence of wobble. It is the ability to return to center. In the same way, your life will never be perfectly balanced. You will sway into work, then correct with rest. You will lean into service, then correct with self-care. The art is not in avoiding imbalance completely. It is in learning how to return to your center quickly. Calmness is not about never being shaken. It is about always coming back. Another truth is that balance cannot be borrowed. It must be built. No one else can create your inner harmony for you. You may seek validation from others, hoping they will steady you, but unless you find balance within, you will always remain fragile. Inner balance is your responsibility. It is the sanctuary you build brick by brick through self-awareness, discipline, and reflection. And once you build it, it travels with you everywhere. The outside world may be chaotic, but your inner world remains centered. Balance also transforms the way you face challenges. Without balance, every problem feels like the end of the world. With balance, you see problems for what they are: tests, lessons, opportunities. Stress overwhelms those who are already unstable. But those who are balanced meet the same storms with calmness. They bend, but they do not break. They struggle, but they do not collapse. Balance gives resilience, and resilience gives peace. To cultivate balance, create daily rituals of centering. Begin your mornings with silence or reflection before the world pulls you away. End your evenings by releasing the weight of the day so you do not carry it into tomorrow. Pause during the day to breathe, to notice your body, to reset your mind. These small acts are not luxuries. They are lifelines of balance. Without them, stress takes over. With them, balance returns again and again. And here lies the final truth. Balance is not something you achieve once and keep forever. It is a lifelong practice. Just as a musician tunes their instrument daily, you must tune your mind and heart daily. Stress is the noise that grows when you forget to tune. Calmness is the harmony that comes when you realign. Every day is an opportunity to return to your center, to rebuild your sanctuary of balance, to walk steadily no matter how uneven the path becomes. So when life pulls you apart, do not despair. Remember, you are not the pull, you are the center. You are not the storm, you are the anchor. Balance is within you, waiting to be strengthened. And when you master this art, stress will no longer scatter you because you will always know how to return to yourself. That is the sanctuary of inner balance. That is the calmness that endures. 17. The strength of stillness. Finding power in pausing before you act. The world today glorifies speed. People are taught to respond instantly, to answer every message right away, to react the moment they feel provoked, to make quick decisions without space for reflection. In this culture of urgency, stillness is often misunderstood as laziness or weakness. Yet true wisdom reveals the opposite. Stillness is not inaction, it is mastery. It is the ability to pause, breathe, and see clearly before you move. It is the discipline of waiting for the storm in your mind to settle before you speak, decide, or act. And in times of stress, stillness becomes one of the greatest sources of calmness and strength. When emotions are high, your vision is low. Anger narrows your perspective, fear clouds your thinking, and stress speeds up your reactions until you are no longer in control. You are simply being dragged by impulse. But when you pause, even for a moment, you interrupt this cycle. Stillness gives you distance from your emotions. It gives you space to observe them, to understand them, and to choose wisely instead of reacting blindly. This pause, though invisible on the outside, is an act of immense inner power. Imagine a glass of water filled with dirt. If you keep shaking the glass, the water remains cloudy. But if you set the glass down and let it sit still, the dirt slowly settles, and the water becomes clear again. Your mind works the same way. Stress shakes it until your thoughts are cloudy and your judgment is unclear. But stillness allows the dirt to settle. With time and patience, clarity returns. The pause before you act is that stillness. It is what turns chaos into clarity. Most regrets in life come from moments when people reacted too quickly. They spoke words they did not mean. They made choices out of fear. They lashed out in anger or gave up in despair. If they had paused, even for a breath, they might have chosen differently. Stillness protects you from this regret. It reminds you that not every situation requires an immediate response. Silence is often wiser than rushed words. Waiting is often stronger than impulsive action. A single pause can save years of pain. Stillness does not mean doing nothing. It means doing the right thing at the right time. Nature itself shows us this. A seed does not sprout the moment it is planted. It waits. The sun does not rush to rise before its time. It waits. Rivers do not crash violently through mountains all at once. They patiently carve their path over centuries. This stillness, this patience is not weakness. It is unstoppable power. Human beings, too, must learn this rhythm. There are times to act boldly and times to pause. Wisdom is knowing the difference. Stress often fools you into believing that everything is urgent, that if you do not act now, disaster will strike, that if you do not react instantly, you will lose control. But urgency is often an illusion created by fear. The truth is, most things in life can wait for a breath, a pause, a moment of reflection. And in that pause, you often discover that the problem is not as urgent as it felt, or that the solution is simpler than you imagined. Stillness breaks the illusion of urgency and restores your calmness. Another gift of stillness is that it reconnects you with yourself. In the noise of daily life, you are pulled in countless directions, by work, by people, by endless distractions. You lose touch with your inner voice, your intuition, your deeper wisdom. But when you pause, when you sit in silence, you hear yourself again. You realize that calmness has been within you all along, buried beneath the noise. Stillness is not about finding answers outside. It is about hearing the answers inside that stress was drowning out. Stillness also protects your relationships. In moments of conflict, the instinct is to respond instantly, to defend yourself, to argue, to attack. But this often turns small disagreements into large battles. If instead you pause, if you breathe, remain silent for a moment and allow emotions to settle, you prevent unnecessary damage. Stillness allows you to respond with clarity, compassion, and patience, instead of adding fire to the flames. Many conflicts could be resolved not with more words, but with a single moment of silence. There is also spiritual strength in stillness. Across philosophies, religions, and wisdom traditions, stillness has always been honored as sacred. It is in stillness that people connect with the divine, with the universe, with their own soul. Prayer, meditation, reflection, all are forms of stillness. In that quiet space, you realize that you are not your stress, not your fears, not your circumstances. You are deeper than all of them. You discover an inner sanctuary that no chaos can reach, and from that sanctuary, calmness flows. The challenge is that stillness feels uncomfortable at first. When you pause, your restless mind shouts louder. You feel the urge to fill silence with words, to fill waiting with action. But if you resist that urge, if you remain still, you begin to feel its power. You realize that you are not defined by constant doing, that being still is just as powerful as moving. You realize that silence is not emptiness, it is fullness. You realize that waiting is not weakness, it is strength. To practice stillness, begin small. When you are asked a difficult question, do not rush. Pause before answering. When you feel anger rising, breathe before speaking. When you face a tough decision, give yourself time to reflect before choosing. When you feel restless, sit in silence for a few minutes, noticing your breath. These small practices of stillness build a habit. Over time, you will find that you no longer feel the need to react instantly because you have discovered the strength of pausing. Another way to cultivate stillness is through daily rituals. Wake up in the morning and spend a few moments in silence before you begin your day. Sit quietly before you sleep, letting go of the noise of the day. Step outside and watch the sky without distraction. These simple rituals are not luxuries, they are training. They build the inner muscle of stillness so that when stress arrives, you already know how to pause. You already know how to remain calm. Stillness also builds patience. In a world addicted to speed, the ability to wait calmly is rare. But it is in waiting that growth happens. Just as muscles grow not during training but during rest, your mind grows not in constant reaction but in moments of stillness. Every pause is an act of strengthening. Every silence is an act of growth. Every moment of stillness is a seed of calmness that blooms when life becomes heavy. And here lies the greatest secret. Stillness is not the opposite of power, it is the source of power. The calmest people are often the strongest. The quietest minds often see the most clearly. The most patient actions often create the greatest results. Stillness is the foundation from which true strength rises. Without it, you are tossed by every wave. With it, you are the anchor that holds steady. So remember this truth. Life will always push you to react quickly, but your greatest power lies in your ability to pause. Stillness is not delay, it is mastery. Stillness is not weakness, it is strength. Stillness is not emptiness, it is clarity. The next time stress rises and life demands you act instantly, remember, you do not need to react. You can pause, you can breathe, you can wait. And in that stillness, you will find calmness, clarity and strength beyond measure. That is the strength of stillness. That is the power of pausing before you act. 18. Unshakable faith. Trusting the process. When life feels uncertain. One of the deepest sources of stress is uncertainty. Not knowing what will happen tomorrow, not knowing how things will turn out, not knowing if your effort will pay off, or if the storm you are facing will ever end. The human mind craves control, and when it cannot see the full picture, it begins to panic. Doubt creeps in, fear grows louder, and negativity spreads like wildfire inside you. But the truth is, life was never designed to be fully visible. The road ahead will always be partly hidden. The future will always hold mysteries. And this is where many break, because they demand certainty in a world that offers none. Yet those who remain calm and positive in uncertain times share one trait in common: unshakable faith. Faith is not blind ignorance. It is not pretending everything is fine when it is not. Faith is the steady trust that even though you cannot see the whole picture, the process is still unfolding as it should. Faith is knowing that setbacks are not the end, but stepping stones. Faith is trusting that delays are not denials, that closed doors are protections, and that unseen possibilities are still waiting ahead. Faith is the anchor that keeps you steady when life feels uncertain. Stress thrives on questions without answers. What if I fail? What if I lose everything? What if things never improve? These what-ifs are the fuel of anxiety, but faith interrupts them with a new voice. Even if I fail, I will rise. Even if I lose, I will rebuild. Even if things take time, they will shift. I have survived before, and I will survive again. Faith does not erase uncertainty, but it replaces panic with peace. It transforms the storm into a teacher, the delay into preparation, the unknown into possibility. Think about the seed planted in the soil. From above, nothing seems to happen. Weeks may pass without a single sign of growth. If you judge too quickly, you would think the seed is dead. But beneath the soil, roots are forming, strength is building, preparation is happening. The delay is not failure, it is foundation. Life is the same. When nothing seems to be moving, when the future feels hidden, it may be that unseen roots are growing. Faith is the strength to wait, trusting that the invisible will one day become visible. Uncertainty is not the enemy. It is the birthplace of growth. If everything were certain, there would be no room for faith, no room for courage, no room for discovery. The greatest journeys of life begin with uncertainty. No traveler sees the entire map. No creator knows exactly how their work will unfold. No dreamer sees every step ahead. What separates those who collapse from those who succeed is not certainty, it is faith. Faith to take one step at a time, trusting that the path will reveal itself as you walk it. Faith also transforms how you see setbacks. Without faith, setbacks look like punishment. With faith, setbacks look like preparation. The closed door becomes protection from something not meant for you. The delay becomes time to build strength you will need later. The failure becomes a lesson disguised as pain. Stress blinds you to these truths, making you believe that everything is against you. But faith opens your eyes, reminding you that life is not against you. It is shaping you. Another gift of faith is resilience. When you trust the process, you no longer panic at every obstacle. You no longer quit at the first sign of difficulty. You endure because you believe the journey has meaning even when it is hard. Stress whispers, "You cannot handle this." Faith replies, "I may not control this, but I can endure it. I may not see the ending, but I trust it will be worth it." That trust makes you stronger than fear. Faith also brings calmness because it shifts your focus. Stress focuses on the problem. It magnifies it until it fills your entire vision. Faith focuses on the bigger picture. It reminds you that life is more than this moment, more than this storm, more than this setback. Stress says, "This is the end." Faith says, "This is only a chapter." Stress narrows your world. Faith expands it. And in that expansion, peace returns. But how do you build faith in daily life? The first step is remembering your past victories. Look back at the storms you thought you could never survive. Look back at the nights you thought would never end. Look back at the challenges that once felt impossible but are now behind you. Every survival, every lesson, every breakthrough is proof that you are stronger than uncertainty. If you made it through before, why should you doubt that you can make it through again? Faith grows when you remember that the past is filled with evidence of your strength. Another way to build faith is through gratitude. Gratitude shifts your focus from what is missing to what is already here. Even in uncertain times, there are always blessings: health, breath, loved ones, lessons, opportunities. Gratitude does not erase the unknown, but it reminds you that life is not only chaos, it is also grace. When you focus on what is present, fear of what is absent begins to fade. Gratitude feeds faith because it reminds you that life has given before and will give again. Patience is also the soil where faith grows. Without patience, faith collapses into frustration. You demand results instantly, and when they do not come, you doubt. But patience reminds you that everything unfolds in its own time. Just as no tree grows overnight, no dream is fulfilled instantly. Patience says, "I will wait, not passively, but actively, with hope and with steady effort." Patience and faith walk hand in hand. Without one, the other cannot survive. Trust also requires surrender. Surrender does not mean giving up. It means letting go of the illusion that you must control everything. It means saying, "I have done my part. Now I release the rest." This release is what brings calmness. It is the difference between carrying the full weight of the world and sharing it with something greater. Surrender is not weakness, it is wisdom. It frees you from stress because it reminds you that you are not alone in carrying life. Unshakable faith is not built in easy times. It is forged in uncertainty. It is tested when you do not know how things will end, but you walk forward anyway. It is proven when you face darkness, but still believe light will come. It is strengthened when you endure storms, but still whisper, "This too shall pass." Faith does not remove uncertainty. It transforms your relationship with it. Instead of seeing uncertainty as danger, you begin to see it as possibility. So when life feels unclear, when stress rises because you cannot see the future, pause and remind yourself, "I do not need to know everything to move forward. I do not need to control everything to be at peace. I trust the process. I trust that every step, even the painful ones, is shaping me into who I must become." This reminder may not change the situation, but it will change you. It will give you calmness where there was panic, positivity where there was despair, strength where there was fear. And in the end, this is what unshakable faith gives you, not certainty, but peace in uncertainty, not control, but trust in the process, not the removal of storms, but the strength to walk calmly through them. Stress will always rise when you demand to see the whole picture. Calmness will always return when you trust that the picture is still being painted, and when you live with this faith, no uncertainty can steal your peace. That is the sanctuary of unshakable faith. That is how you remain calm and positive when life feels uncertain. 19. The calm core, building strength that nothing can shake. At the center of every storm, there is a place of stillness, the eye of the storm. While the winds rage violently around it, the center remains calm, untouched by the chaos swirling outside. In many ways, this is the perfect metaphor for the human spirit. Life will always bring storms, problems, losses, failures, betrayals, and uncertainties. You cannot control when they come, and you cannot stop their winds from blowing. But you can choose whether you are swept away by them, or whether you stand in the center, steady and unshaken. The secret is learning to build a calm core within yourself, a sanctuary of strength that nothing outside of you can shake. Most people live without this calm core. They build their stability on external foundations: money, success, approval, relationships, or comfort. As long as these remain steady, they feel calm. But the moment life shakes one of these foundations, their peace collapses. They live in constant vulnerability because their center is outside of themselves. A calm core, however, is built on the inside. It does not depend on shifting circumstances. It does not rise and fall with praise or blame. It is an inner anchor, rooted so deeply that no storm can uproot it. To build this calm core, the first step is awareness of what truly belongs to you and what does not. Stress often comes from tying your peace to things you cannot control. If your calmness depends on everyone liking you, it will collapse the moment someone criticizes you. If it depends on everything going according to plan, it will crumble at the first delay. If it depends on life being free of hardship, it will vanish the moment pain arrives. The calm core, on the other hand, rests on what is truly yours: your character, your response, your values, your choices. These cannot be stolen by circumstance. Think of a tree. Its leaves may be blown away, its branches may sway wildly, but as long as its roots are deep, it remains standing. The calm core is your root. It is the unshakable part of you that stays steady no matter what moves on the surface. To build it, you must plant yourself in values deeper than temporary success: honesty, integrity, patience, compassion, discipline, gratitude. When these form your foundation, stress loses much of its power because storms cannot uproot what is planted in timeless soil. The calm core is also built through self-knowledge. Many people are stressed because they do not know who they are. They chase every opinion, every trend, every demand, hoping to find themselves in the approval of others. But this only makes them fragile. If someone praises them, they rise. If someone insults them, they fall. Their identity is at the mercy of outside voices. But when you know who you are, when you know your strengths, your weaknesses, your values, your purpose, you become harder to shake. Insults no longer define you. Praise no longer controls you. You remain steady because your core is not built on noise. It is built on truth. Another pillar of the calm core is discipline. Stress often grows from scattered living. No structure, no focus, no self-control. Your mind pulls you one way, your emotions another, your desires yet another. Without discipline, you become a slave to impulses, and every temptation or distraction shakes your balance. But discipline centers you. It reminds you that not every desire must be followed, not every thought must be believed, not every impulse must be obeyed. Discipline is the wall that protects your calm core. It keeps you from being dragged in 100 directions and helps you remain steady in the middle of noise. Calmness also grows when you build resilience through hardship. A calm core is not built in comfort, it is built in storms. Every challenge you endure, every difficulty you survive, every pain you overcome strengthens your inner root. Without hardship, you remain shallow. With hardship, you grow deep. It is through storms that you learn what is unshakable within you. Stress makes people fear challenges, but calmness transforms challenges into training. Each storm becomes a chance to strengthen your core, to deepen your roots, to practice being unshaken. One of the greatest tests of the calm core is loss. When you lose something precious, a job, a dream, a relationship, it feels as though the ground beneath you has collapsed. Many people fall apart completely in these moments because they built their identity entirely on what they lost. But those with a calm core grieve without being destroyed. They acknowledge the pain, but they remind themselves, I am more than what I lost. My life is not over. My worth is not gone. My strength remains. This perspective does not erase pain, but it prevents despair. It allows you to carry loss without losing yourself. Another part of building the calm core is silence. The world is loud, and if you never withdraw into silence, your mind will always be restless. Silence is not emptiness, it is nourishment. It is in silence that you reconnect with yourself, that you hear the quiet truths buried beneath noise. Daily silence strengthens your calm core because it reminds you that peace is not outside, it is within. Even a few minutes of stillness each day is enough to anchor you again. Gratitude also fortifies the calm core. Stress thrives on focusing on what is missing, on what went wrong, on what might fail. But gratitude shifts your vision to what remains, what went right, what is already a gift. Gratitude does not deny struggle, it balances it. It reminds you that even in storms, there is still beauty, still love, still hope. Each act of gratitude is like another root driven deeper into the soil of your soul. The deeper the roots, the harder it becomes for life to shake you. Faith, too, is essential. Faith does not mean you understand everything, it means you trust, even when you do not understand. Faith allows you to walk calmly into uncertainty because you believe the process has purpose. It allows you to endure storms because you believe they will end. It allows you to remain positive even when the future is hidden. Stress collapses when you believe you must see and control everything. Calmness rises when you trust that you do not need to. Building a calm core also requires letting go. Many people are restless because they are carrying burdens that do not belong to them. The need to please everyone, the need to control outcomes, the need to hold on to every mistake or regret. But your calmness cannot survive if you carry everything. To remain unshaken, you must release what is not yours. You must forgive what cannot be changed, release what has already passed, and loosen your grip on what you cannot control. Letting go is not loss, it is strength. It is the act of protecting your inner core from unnecessary weight. When you live with a calm core, life changes. Problems still come, but they do not consume you. People may criticize you, but they do not define you. Plans may fail, but they do not destroy you. You become like the mountain. Winds may strike, storms may rage, but you remain. This does not mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything, but you remain steady anyway. The calm core does not erase storms. It anchors you through them. To cultivate this inner sanctuary, practice daily. Each time stress rises, pause and ask yourself, what is unshakable within me right now? Is it your integrity, your ability to endure, your gratitude, your faith? Each reminder draws you back to your calm center. Each practice strengthens your root. Over time, you will notice that you are less reactive, less anxious, less fragile. Life's storms still arrive, but they no longer knock you down. They only reveal how deeply rooted you have become. The calm core is not built in a day. It is built slowly through discipline, awareness, reflection, and resilience. But once built, it becomes the greatest gift you can carry. Because when you live from your calm center, stress loses its grip. The winds may howl, the storms may rage, but you remain steady, calm, positive, and unshaken. That is the calm core. That is the strength within you that nothing can shake. 20. The horizon of hope, holding light. When life feels dark. Every human life will pass through valleys of shadow. Times when the weight of problems feels unbearable, when opportunities vanish, when losses cut deeply, and when the future appears as nothing but darkness. In these moments, stress multiplies, because the mind whispers, "This is the end. Things will never get better. There is no way forward." Hopelessness is perhaps the most dangerous form of stress. It is the enemy that convinces you to give up before the battle is truly over. But just as night is always followed by dawn, no darkness lasts forever. Calmness and positivity survive the longest nights not by denying the darkness, but by holding on to hope, the horizon that promises light is coming. Hope is not a naive dream. It is not pretending that everything is fine when it is not. True hope is strength. It is the ability to look honestly at the darkness, acknowledge its reality, and still say, "This will pass. The dawn will come. I will endure." Hope is the seed of resilience, the flame that refuses to go out, even when the winds of despair try to blow it away. And just like a horizon, hope does not erase the night. It gives you the courage to walk through it until the morning arrives. Stress often thrives in hopelessness because hopelessness narrows your vision. When you lose hope, you stop seeing options. You believe every door is closed, every path is blocked, every effort is pointless. But hope expands your vision again. It reminds you that even if one door has closed, another may still open. Even if one path is blocked, another may appear. Even if today is heavy, tomorrow carries possibilities. Hope restores the wider horizon that stress had stolen from you. Think of sailors lost at sea. In the middle of endless waves with storms raging, the sight of a distant lighthouse can mean everything. That small light does not remove the storm, but it gives direction, strength, and the courage to keep going. Hope is your lighthouse. Even when the storm does not end immediately, hope keeps you steady long enough to reach safe ground. Without hope, you drift aimlessly. With hope, you find direction again. Another truth is that hope does not need to be large to be powerful. Sometimes it is enough to hold on to the smallest reasons to continue. A single supportive friend, a lesson learned in pain, a dream not yet fulfilled, or even the simple fact that storms never last forever. Small hopes can carry you through big struggles. Just as a single candle can light up a dark room, a single reason to believe can keep your spirit alive through the darkest times. Hope also grows from memory. When you are in despair, your mind focuses only on what is wrong. But if you look back honestly, you will see times when you thought you could not endure, yet you did. You will see moments when all seemed lost, yet things turned around. You will see nights that felt endless, but were followed by morning. These memories are proof that darkness is never final. Hope grows when you remember that life has carried you through before, and it can carry you through again. Faith and hope walk together. Faith says, even if I cannot see the whole path, I trust that it is leading somewhere meaningful. Hope says, even if today is dark, tomorrow will hold light. Together, they protect your calmness in uncertainty. Stress collapses when you demand answers immediately. Hope strengthens you when you believe answers will arrive in time. Stress poisons you with impatience. Hope heals you with endurance. But hope is not only passive belief, it is also action. True hope does not sit idle waiting for light. It moves toward the light. It says, I may not be able to change everything, but I can take one small step. I can improve one small thing. I can create a little progress today. Each small action fuels hope, and each act of hope fuels calmness. Without action, hope fades into wishful thinking. With action, hope becomes a living force that changes reality step by step. Hope also protects relationships. In times of conflict, hopelessness convinces people that things can never improve, that bonds are broken beyond repair, that wounds cannot heal. But hope says, if we both try, if we both endure, this can be rebuilt. In friendships, marriages, families, hope becomes the glue that holds people together through storms. Without hope, people give up too soon. With hope, they fight for what matters. Calmness grows in these relationships, not because there are no problems, but because hope keeps the light alive. Another truth is that hope must sometimes be chosen deliberately. In the middle of pain, your mind will not naturally lean toward hope. It will lean toward despair. In those moments, you must choose hope the way a traveler chooses to keep walking through the desert, even when no water is in sight. This choice is not denial, it is strength. It is the refusal to let darkness define the ending. It is the decision to trust that the horizon is still there, even if clouds hide it. Gratitude is one of the strongest builders of hope. When you count what remains, instead of only what is lost, you remind yourself that all is not gone. Even in the darkest times, there are always pieces of light left. Your breath, your resilience, your lessons, your loved ones, your ability to grow. Gratitude turns your eyes from total darkness to the small stars that still shine. And sometimes those stars are enough to carry you until the sun rises again. Hope also requires community. Alone, despair grows louder. Together, hope multiplies. This is why sharing burdens with others, leaning on supportive voices, and surrounding yourself with people who believe in you are all essential. When your own hope feels weak, someone else's hope can carry you. And when their hope falters, yours can carry them. Calmness is not always an individual battle. It is often strengthened by the circle of hope around you. But perhaps the greatest secret of hope is this: hope transforms the way you carry pain. Pain without hope feels unbearable. Pain with hope becomes meaningful. You begin to see that what you are enduring is shaping you, teaching you, strengthening you. You realize that even if you do not yet see the full reason, hope itself is enough to endure until the reason becomes clear. Stress tells you that pain is pointless. Hope tells you that pain has purpose. And in that belief, calmness is born. To practice hope, begin small. Each morning, choose one thing to look forward to, even if it is simple: a conversation, a walk, a book, a moment of silence. Each evening, reflect on one thing that gave you strength that day. Each challenge, remind yourself of one reason to keep going. These small practices may seem ordinary, but together they weave a fabric of hope that no stress can tear. In the end, hope is not about denying darkness. It is about refusing to let darkness have the final word. It is about walking calmly through the night, knowing that dawn is certain, even if you cannot yet see it. It is about holding light inside you, even when the world outside is dark. Hope is the horizon that steadies your steps. Hope is the anchor that keeps you from drifting. Hope is the voice that whispers, "Keep going. This is not the end." And when you live with this horizon of hope, life's storms may still rage, but they will never break you. Because no matter how dark it becomes, you carry your own dawn within. That is the horizon of hope. That is how you hold light when life feels dark. 21. The river within, flowing through life without resistance. There is a river that runs through life. Sometimes it moves gently, carrying you with ease, and sometimes it rushes with force, pulling you into currents you did not expect. Most people spend their lives fighting this river. They try to dam it, control it, force it to move according to their will. They resist its twists, resent its speed, complain about its obstacles, and in that resistance, they exhaust themselves. Stress is born from this fight, this endless struggle to control the flow of life instead of learning how to flow with it. Calmness, on the other hand, is born from surrender, not the surrender of weakness, but the surrender of wisdom. It is the realization that you do not need to resist the river, you only need to learn how to flow with it. The greatest source of stress is the illusion that life must always go your way. You imagine that events must follow your timeline, that people must act according to your script, that outcomes must align with your expectations. But life does not bend to the ego's demands. It has its own rhythm, its own timing, its own path. The more you demand that it follow your map, the more frustrated you become. But when you begin to trust the river, when you stop resisting its bends and turns, you discover a surprising peace. You realize that you were never meant to control every current. You were meant to learn how to float, how to steer lightly, how to adapt, how to trust. Think of the water itself. When it meets a rock, it does not waste energy fighting against it. It flows around it. When it meets a wall, it does not scream in frustration. It waits, gathers strength, and finds a way over or under. The water does not lose itself by adapting. It remains water, steady, patient, and unstoppable. This is the wisdom of calmness, to meet obstacles not with resistance, but with flow. Stress hardens you, makes you rigid, brittle, and easily broken. Calmness softens you, makes you flexible, adaptable, unbreakable. Many people confuse flowing with passivity. They think to flow means to give up, to accept everything without effort. But flowing is not the absence of effort. It is the intelligent use of effort. It is knowing when to act and when to wait. It is steering with the current instead of against it. The river does not stop moving simply because it is flowing. It moves endlessly, powerfully, shaping mountains and valleys. To flow is not to be weak, it is to be wise. Stress often arises when you cling too tightly to expectations. You imagined a perfect outcome, and when reality gave you something else, you resisted. You imagined a straight path, but life gave you curves, and you fought them. But calmness grows when you learn to release expectations and embrace what comes. This does not mean you abandon goals or stop striving. It means you hold your goals lightly, working hard, but not enslaving your peace to the outcome. You row your boat, but you also trust the river. This balance is where calmness thrives. Another truth about flow is rhythm. Life is not meant to be constant speed. There are seasons of action and seasons of rest, seasons of growth and seasons of waiting. Stress grows when you demand only one rhythm, when you demand that everything move fast, or when you resist movement altogether. But the river teaches you rhythm. It shows you that there are rapids and there are still waters, and both are part of the same journey. Calmness comes when you stop demanding that life always be one way, and instead learn to move with its changing pace. The practice of flowing also transforms relationships. When you resist people, trying to control them, change them, or force them to meet your expectations, you create endless stress. But when you learn to flow with people, to accept their differences, to adapt without losing yourself, you find peace. Flowing in relationships does not mean tolerating harm or abandoning boundaries. It means recognizing that others, like rivers, have their own paths. You cannot always direct them, but you can learn how to move gracefully alongside them without constant conflict. Flow also gives you strength in uncertainty. The future will never be fully visible, and trying to force clarity only creates stress. But when you flow, you stop demanding to see the entire river at once. You focus instead on the section you are on, trusting that the river will carry you forward. This trust creates calmness. It allows you to walk into uncertainty not with fear, but with faith. One of the greatest practices of flowing is letting go. Letting go of what has already passed. Letting go of what you cannot control. Letting go of the need to know every answer. The river does not cling to the rocks it passes. It does not stop to hold the leaves it carries. It keeps moving, always forward. Stress grows when you cling to everything, every mistake, every regret, every wound. Calmness grows when you learn to let go and keep moving. Letting go does not erase the past, but it frees you from being chained to it. Flow is also about presence. When you are fully in the present moment, you notice the beauty of the river. You feel the water, see the light reflecting, hear the gentle sounds around you. But when your mind is stuck in the past or anxious about the future, you miss all of this. You drift, not noticing life as it passes. Flowing requires presence, and presence is where peace is found. Calmness does not live in the past or future, it lives in now. Another gift of flow is resilience. When you are rigid, life breaks you easily, but when you flow, you bend without breaking. You adapt without losing yourself. You rise again and again because you do not waste energy resisting what cannot be changed. You use that energy instead to navigate, to adjust, to endure. This resilience is not loud or dramatic. It is quiet, steady, unstoppable. It is the resilience of water itself, which carves canyons not by force, but by persistence. So how do you practice the river within? Begin by noticing where you resist life. Where do you complain endlessly? Where do you feel stuck because things are not exactly as you wanted? Then ask yourself, what if I flowed instead of fought? What if I trusted this moment instead of resisting it? Each time you choose flow over resistance, you strengthen your calmness. Each time you let go of rigid expectations, you grow more unshakable. You can also practice flow through daily mindfulness. Move slowly sometimes, noticing your breath, your steps, your surroundings. Allow yourself to experience moments without rushing to the next. Practice acceptance of small inconveniences, a delay, a change of plan, a mistake, reminding yourself that resisting them only adds stress, but flowing with them preserves your peace. These small acts are training for the bigger storms of life. And here lies the final truth. Stress makes life feel like a battle you must fight, but calmness reveals life as a river you can trust. You do not need to control every bend. You do not need to resist every current. You only need to keep moving, keep flowing, keep trusting. When you master this, life no longer feels like a constant struggle. It feels like a journey, sometimes fast, sometimes slow, sometimes hard, sometimes beautiful, but always carrying you forward. Every journey has a beginning, a middle, and an end. And yet what we have walked through together in these lessons is not truly an ending. It is a doorway into a new way of living. We have explored many paths, anchoring yourself in the present, creating rituals of peace, mastering silence, learning detachment, practicing endurance, choosing response over reaction, flowing with life's river, and holding on to hope when the night feels long. Each lesson has been like a stone placed gently into your hand, but their true value is not in holding them, it is in using them to build your own sanctuary of calmness, your own foundation of inner strength. The truth of life is simple yet profound. Stress will never disappear completely. The world will always bring storms, challenges, disappointments, and uncertainties. You cannot stop the rain from falling, nor the winds from blowing. But you can build yourself into someone who remains calm no matter what weather surrounds you. Calmness is not the absence of storms. It is the anchor within you that keeps you steady through them. It is the unshakable center that no outside force can break. Look back at what we have uncovered together. You have seen that calmness begins with awareness. the ability to notice your thoughts and emotions instead of being enslaved by them. You have seen that silence, stillness, and pausing before reaction are not weaknesses, but strengths. You have seen that every negative emotion carries within it the seed of transformation, waiting to be turned into courage, wisdom, compassion, or resilience. You have seen that endurance, patience, and detachment are not passive. They are the quiet powers that allow you to outlast hardship and remain steady in the face of uncertainty. You have seen that gratitude, faith, and hope are not small comforts. They are the light that leads you through the darkest valleys. Calmness is not a luxury for a chosen few. It is a practice available to everyone. It is not hidden in distant places, nor locked in secrets known only by the wise. It lives in every breath you take, in every pause you allow, in every choice you make, not to react blindly, but to respond with clarity. It lives in the way you rise each morning and choose to begin your day with intention. It lives in the way you release what you cannot control and hold on to what you can. It lives in the way you carry yourself, not as someone tossed by life, but as someone who flows with it. Think of calmness as your greatest companion. When you are angry, it holds you back from saying words you will regret. When you are afraid, it steadies your hands and reminds you to trust. When you are sad, it sits beside you quietly, softening your grief into wisdom. When you are lost, it whispers that the path will reveal itself in time. Stress pulls you into panic, but calmness pulls you back into yourself. Stress blinds you with fear, but calmness clears your vision with clarity. Stress makes you a prisoner of life's storms, but calmness makes you the captain of your ship. And this is the secret. Calmness is not something you wait for. It is something you create. You create it in the way you breathe, in the way you think, in the way you choose presence over worry, gratitude over complaint, faith over fear. You create it through rituals that remind you of your strength, through boundaries that protect your energy, through patience that trusts the timing of life. You create it each time you pause, each time you let go, each time you choose to flow instead of resist. The beauty of calmness is that it multiplies. The more you live it, the more others around you feel it. A calm parent creates peace in their home. A calm leader creates strength in their team. A calm friend becomes a safe place for others to rest. Calmness is contagious. It spreads without effort, just as panic spreads without control. By choosing calmness, you are not only saving yourself from stress, you are offering peace to everyone around you. The world will continue to glorify noise, speed, and urgency. It will tell you that success belongs to the loud, that happiness belongs to the fast, that peace belongs to the lucky. But you now know the deeper truth. Success without calmness is empty. Speed without balance is destruction. Happiness without inner peace is fragile. True strength is not loud. It is silent endurance. True wisdom is not rushed. It is patient stillness. True peace is not borrowed from outside. It is built within. So as you carry these lessons forward, remember this. You are not powerless against stress. You are not at the mercy of your emotions. You are not fragile in the face of life's storms. Within you is a calm core, a still center, a sanctuary that cannot be shaken. It may take practice, patience, and persistence to live from that center, but once you do, you will never lose it. Because calmness, once rooted deeply, does not depend on circumstances. It belongs to you. Imagine yourself now as the river, flowing, adaptable, unbreakable. Imagine yourself as the mountain, silent, strong, unshaken by winds. Imagine yourself as the sky, vast, open, untouched by passing storms. These are not just images, they are truths about who you can become. When stress rises, when life pulls you, when darkness comes, return to these truths. Breathe, pause, remember, flow, endure, let go, hope, trust. In these simple acts, calmness returns again and again, until one day it is no longer something you must practice, it is simply who you are. This is the conclusion, but not the end. It is the beginning of a calmer, stronger, and more resilient you. A version of yourself that is no longer enslaved by stress, no longer blinded by fear, no longer fragile in the face of storms. You now carry within you the tools, the wisdom, and the strength to live with calmness no matter what life brings. And as you walk forward, never forget this truth. Calmness is not found in the world outside, it is found in the world within. Positivity is not given by circumstances, it is chosen in every moment. Strength is not measured by what you can control, it is measured by what cannot control you. Live by these truths, and you will discover a peace that nothing can steal, a strength that nothing can shake, and a calmness that will carry you through every storm. That is the timeless power of calmness, and it is yours to carry, today, tomorrow, always.